Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
And hello, everyone. Almost forgot to unmute my microphone again, but didn't catch me this time. Anyway, hope you're having a hail of a good evening, because I know I'm going to. Welcome to Clever Title Pending for June 2nd, 2020. Holy cats, we survived 2 whole days in June so far, so we hope you got something to drink. Some adult beverages. I'm going to be getting a refill any minute now, and I've nursed this for about 5 minutes, so I think I've done pretty good. So anyway, we are proud, and just proud describes it, because we are here with a dear friend of mine, the one, the only, Amy Hale. How the heck are you, Amy?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, so far so good. We'll see what everyone how we feeling about 60 minutes from now. But anyway.
I'm already feeling pretty good. I'm about halfway through my drink.
Okay. For the record, Amy, tell everyone what you are drinking tonight.
Okay, so I have a Route 44. It's not completely full. I'm just for record.
She's emptied it, folks. Yeah, manually.
Route 44 Diet Dr. Pepper with cherry and vanilla, and I put Kraken in it.
There you go, up to the rim, and she put.
And I've been working on it for a little while, so I'm feeling pretty good.
At least 20 minutes, folks. So anyway, and I'm drinking the last of the pineapple wine that we opened about a week ago, and this is all that's left of it. So as soon as this gets down, I'm going to be crying for Cookie to bring me the Black and Bruised from Kentucky. Yes, refill. Oh my God, yeah, refill. So that's what we're doing. And folks, we welcome. In fact, we demand your questions tonight. Don't leave me to be the only interrogator here. We want some questions that make some sense. So anyway, and now the command goes out. Okay, everyone, start drinking now. Did I really type that? That's from earlier. Holy cow! And author Michaela Hale, or author Michaela, everyone's a Hale tonight. Anyway, author Michaela Jade has decided how much I had. She forgot her drink. But hello, Ted Davies. Hello, Sarah, and Dan Burris and Clyde Hall, Carl Witzman, the Kraken, Whiskey and Sprite, smoking an Ave Maria cigar. Oh yeah, and of course there's our motto: release the Kraken. And Christy Robinson, hi, how you doing, Christy? And we're caught up with the comments already. That's the last time that'll happen. And so we hope you all will say hello, and we will try to say hello. But most of all, we would love your questions. Now, Amy is quite an accomplished author. I will say that. Compared to me, she's got a lot of books out. She does well. She is a highly desired guest. In fact, we both are appearing right now on the Big River Comic Con. That's going to be held October 2nd through 4th in Hannibal, Missouri. Amy and I will both be attending there. And let's see, Matt Shore says, with that kind of drink, Amy will be bouncing off the walls like my 4-year-old son before you finish. Why are you giving your 4-year-old son alcohol? Call the authorities. Anyway, Ted Davies, Jameson and Ginger tonight. Oh, we're doing it tonight. And Fireball Whiskey in Sprite and smoking an Ave Maria cigar. Carl Witzman gave me Carlene. Okay, Donna, it's confusing me.
Fireball.
Oh, me loves us some Fireball, definitely. And Teresa Dunn, here we go. We finally get a question here.
It does involve alcohol.
Yeah. Well, Teresa doesn't drink, unlike the rest of us. So, and
smart girl.
Some nights nobody drinks like I do. But anyway, Teresa, what made you want to become a writer?
Oh wow, that's quite a question.
We got 2 hours.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Let's see. So I have always, I don't know, I've always just told stories. Sometimes that's been a good thing, sometimes that's been a bad thing, but I've always been a storyteller. And in high school, I used to, my friends used to give me like, used to give me little titles and tell me, hey, can you make a story or a poem out of this? They would challenge me. And so that's what I would do. I would, by the end of a class, I would have some kind of story or some kind of poem made up by the end of the class out of the little titles that they gave me. And then by high school, I was writing full stories. They sucked, but I was writing them because I just enjoyed it so much, and I loved my English Lit classes. So I think I've always kind of, I know it's kind of cliche to say people were born writing, they were born writers, but I honestly think I think I was born a storyteller. So I think it's just kind of in me, if that makes any sense. I think I just really have to write. It's part of me, if that makes any sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense. I agree with you completely. Christian Basil wants to know about my Brian's Monster coming out at night. That'll be the after hours show later on. Sarah says, oh, yeah, really. You think the Kraken's unleashed? Look out. And Sarah says, all hail Amy and Brian and other clever titles. And Maria Gonzalez, hey. Maria, glad to see you. Maria's going to have a virtual con later this year. We'll have more details on that. I've been invited to that, and she's looking for a couple authors to accompany me. Maybe I will persuade you. Write this down, Amy, so that you'll remember it when you wake up in the morning. Anyway,
you just have to send me a message later. I ain't gonna remember squat right now.
Probably. Michaela Jade says, I got it. I got my drink and my bra is off. Let the shenanigans begin.
When the bra is off, it's serious, okay? Just saying.
Mine's off too, Michaela, so hey, anything goes.
Brian's bra's off. When the pants come off, all bets are off.
Anyway, it's a little warm in the office, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Carl Benson says, it looks on the screen like Amy has a Brian Funko on her shelf.
The little finger up at the top there, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a voodoo doll. I shouldn't have given her those fingernail clippings. And Jessica Johnson, good evening, everyone. George. Hey, George. Hi, Brian. Hi, Amy. Amy was a terrific guest on my podcast. Of course she was.
George. I had fun.
Excellent. And be sure to promote your podcast here, George. We'd love it. And Sarah, you both look great this evening, by the way. Oh, thank you. So do you. And Jessica Johnson has a link for Heroes for Kids, Perryville, Missouri. Yeah. And we're going to be appearing there too, July 18th. From 10 to 4, I believe. And it's going to be a good time. We are going to have fun, whether anyone likes it or not. And there's the link for Heroes for Kids Comic-Con. If you would like to get a table, if you are an artist or a comic creator or a crafts person or just doing anything geeky, contact Jessica Johnson, and maybe she will put you real close to us. Or if you pay a little extra, you'll be as far away from the two of us as possible. But anyway, and Christian says, Michaela, my bra's off too. Whoa.
This is getting risque, I'm telling you.
Yes, it is. You better call your husband in here. Wait, he's watching already, John. Good to see you here.
He's going to come in and see if I want to take my bra off.
Oh, my God. And Clyde Hall's got Diet Pepsi on the rocks. Clyde's our designated... Yeah, our designated driver tonight. And Chrissy has lemonade. Good for you. Someone needs to raise the moral of the tone of this show, Chrissy. It better be you. And Sarah, the villain is more fun. Always the villain is more fun. Yeah. And Lumotion, hi there. How you doing, buddy? And Bill Sarn says, good evening, Brian, Amy, and Nevermore is sharing tonight's show on the artwork of Bill Sarn page. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. And we're also sharing this on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We need 39 more people, and we get that URL, I believe. So, yay! And I want to thank everyone that's been subscribing to that page. Hopefully, we'll never let you down. And Russell Allen, hello to you. And Sarah, how long? I think you answered this, but how long have you been writing? As long as you can remember?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, as far as I think middle school is when I really started focusing on writing. But as far as professionally, I started writing professionally around 2002 is when I started actually writing, where I was starting to get some notice, making some money at it. And I've been writing professionally ever since then.
Okay. Now, I know the answer to this. I have frequently asked questions I know the answer to, but that way I know they're safe. But what did you start out writing?
What did I start out writing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I started out actually writing for diet and health magazines, some blogs. There were a few, what you would call them. Now they're kind of like, almost like the like Examiner. They're I don't say Examiner. What are the trashy rags that are?
Oh, the clickbaity ones, right?
Yeah. They're like that now, but when they started out, Examiner is what came to mind. I started for places like Examiner.com. They were actually informational websites, and we were paid to have columns on specific topics. And I had a topic on diet and health, and so that's what I started out with. I started out writing diet and health topics, and then all came about because I started researching diet and health because of health problems I was having, and I wanted to learn more. And the more that I learned, the more I started kind of getting into it. I started talking to doctors and researchers, and before I knew it, I was completely enmeshed in that world. And it ended up being my job for a while. So I was writing for magazines. I was writing for a lot of various online entities, freelancing. And that was my job for quite a while. And then like many things, you realize that there's a lot of politics involved. It became very, very political. It became very nasty. And I decided I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I didn't feel like I was helping people like I was in the beginning. So I decided that if I was going to continue to write, it needed to be something that brought me joy again. So in 2014, after a very long discussion with my husband, we decided that it was time to walk away from the health and diet industry and go back to my first love, which was writing fiction. And I had no clue if it was going to go anywhere, but we figured it was worth taking a shot. So I dumped what income I was making there and took a shot writing fiction. And I've been doing it ever since.
Excellent. And can you describe your books? You know, your length and breadth of them. You got quite a library.
Yeah, I currently have 11. And my first one was, it was published in 2015, January of 2015 to be exact. And I have kind of a variety because I don't like to be boxed into a specific genre. I originally started out thinking I was going to write romance because that was primarily what I read, and I love it. So that's what I thought. Okay, and it's a very, very, if you haven't done any research, it's a huge genre. Lots of money in romance. Also a lot of competition. So I started out writing romance. My first book was Ulterior Motives, which I unfortunately don't have a copy of right now because I'm sold out.
Keep talking.
Okay. But that was my first. It was a romantic suspense, and it was an idea that I'd had in my mind for probably 3 years. I'd been messing with this idea for this romantic suspense story, and so that was my very first book. And of course, you know, there it is. So I learned a lot writing that book. Yeah, thank you. He's giving it the thumbs up. So that was my very first book. So it's got some romance, it's got some adventure. I try to mix them both because I love a good story that just sucks you in right away and keeps you moving. I really struggle with books that really get into detail on, I mean, I don't really care what color the cabinets were when I'm reading a story. I want to know what's happening on the page. I want to know what the characters are doing. So I don't get into deep detail when I'm writing, which kind of is an issue because I have to go back and I have to go, you know what? They might want to know what the characters look like. I forgot to say that. So I have to go back in, and I have to go back after I've got the first draft. I jump back in, and then I make sure that I've actually added that in, because I am all about just getting that action on the page. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was my first one. And then I had this weird little snippet of a dream one night that was more of a paranormal kind of thing. There's this girl in a bed, and she's thrashing around in a nightmare, and all these things are kind of flying around her in response to her emotional response. And because of that, I woke up and I thought, oh, that seems like it'd be kind of a neat story. And because of that, I came up with my first paranormal romance, which is Shadows of Jane. This ended up being a 3-book trilogy, along with a bonus novella. So I found I really like the paranormal. I really kind of like the darker stuff. In between those, I've written some comedy, because that's just kind of how I am. So I've got Catching Whitney and Letters from Jason that are both romantic comedies, both kind of stuff I've experimented with. And then I got picked up by a publisher to work in the world of Havenwood Falls. And they've got several lines, so I ended up with Havenwood Falls Somewhere Within. So this is Havenwood Falls High, and it's a high school, so it's a YA story. And it's about a dragon shifter. And this is her best friend's story, and it's called Blood and Iron. It's about a vampire. And then also the Havenwood Falls, which is the new adult, which is a little more language, kind of, got some sex, that kind of stuff. And this is Flames Among the Frost, and the sequel, oops, get it in there, Betrayal Among the Frost. And so that was my first foray into writing for someone else. And that's been a pretty big series. There's like 4 lines in that series. There's a Legends and a erotica series called Sin and Silk, or something similar to erotica. So I've really kept myself pretty busy with all of that. And I am currently writing my first psychological thriller, very little romance, because I really, like I said, I don't like to be boxed in. I want to try new things, which is why over the years, I've rebranded myself from, used to have this big flowery logo that said Amy Hale, Adventures with Heart, and had this lotus flower thing on it. And I ended up changing it to my signature and Short and Sassy Storyteller. Yeah, there it is. Because I wanted to brand me and not my work. And it actually went really well. Branding myself instead of my work, because I like to change things up. I like to write about whatever it is that interests me at the time. So anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I've been working on.
Excellent. And we're now on the second one. I got to catch up to Amy. Yeah. Thank you, sweetheart.
Welcome.
And Amy says, hi, Cookie.
Hiya.
Hiya, she says. Sarah's next question is, what is your least favorite genre to write? That's a very good question.
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, because I think everything I've written, I've actually written in stuff that I'm interested in. Because it really just depends on what I'm interested in at the time that I write. I've tried some erotica. I'll put that out there. It's not my thing. Let's put it that way. I'm not good at it. We'll leave it at that. But at least not serious. I think if it was humorous, kind of like satirical, I think I could nail that. But for the serious kind of stuff that people like to read, I don't think that's gonna be me. So
We'll talk to you later about that dino porn series then. Anyway, Bill Sarton wants to know, who were your inspirations and what did you read growing up?
Oh, I read a lot of Stephen King. I was really into the weird stuff growing up. And no, I did not sleep very much. I would stay up reading, and then when I finally decided that I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, I would have nightmares because I was an idiot. So yeah, I would read Stephen King and then dream really bad dreams and not sleep well. So yeah, mostly creepy stuff. I loved Edgar Allan Poe. I loved let's see, George Orwell. I was a huge fan of his work. And then of course there was the stuff that we had to read in literature that some of it was okay. Oddly enough, I loved Jane Austen, and I loved Louisa May Alcott. Little Women was one of my favorite books, which is kind of really like the opposite of Stephen King.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of a weird switch, but those were things that I don't know, it just pulled me in. I actually credit Little Women because it was something I read in I think junior high that really pulled me into reading again. But yeah, as I got into high school and stuff, I really got into the Stephen King stuff, and it was in the library, so I had access to it. So that's what I read in my free time.
Wow, your high school library is way different than mine. And how at least you had books from this century. Matt Shore wants to ask, what drew you to paranormal stories?
Oh,
good question.
Well, I think part of it was just loving to read. I like spooky stuff. That's pretty simple. And of course, I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoy the Stephen King stuff. I'm a big fan of all the stuff, the Ghost Adventures and the Ghost Hunters and all that stuff. I've watched that for years, and I've had some really weird experiences on my own. So I really like the idea of there being something out there we can't explain, something that's very different from what we're used to. And I love the idea, especially with, like, say with Jane, she has abilities that normal people don't have. I love that idea. It's kind of like with the X-Men, that's more sci-fi, but I love that they're different and that they're able to do things that normal people can't do, and that makes them unique, and that they take those things and they can either do good or do evil with them. I just find that an intriguing story.
Very cool. Very cool. And now Christian Basil of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS podcast says, what story are you most proud of? Not necessarily your favorite, the one you're most proud of. And I think that's a very important distinction.
Wow, yeah. That's kind of a hard question to separate the two. I would say it's really a toss-up between probably my Havenwood Falls work. I think I'm probably most proud of maybe like Betrayal Among the Frost, which is my sequel to Flames Among the Frost. I'm probably most proud of that simply because it's my most recent, and I feel like my best work. I feel like I've learned the most since doing that. I have an editor that was phenomenal. She really kept me on my toes. And I was under a lot of pressure for this book. So as I was writing it, I just kept thinking, oh my God, this book is crap. I really was. I was going to think, oh my gosh, she's going to send this back. And she's going to be like, what is this crap you've sent me? Really? This is what you sent me. I really thought she was going to send it back. And she wrote it back. She said, this is the best book you've ever sent me. And I think it's just, I've learned so much since, book 1 to book 11 that it's hard not to be proud of how far I've come. So I think it's probably that book.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I'm going to interject here now. How did it feel to be playing with somebody else's intellectual property?
That was kind of interesting because it's such a big world. Havenwood Falls has grown immensely since I started. When I started, there were probably only, I think I was one of the first probably 10 authors to start in the world, and now there's something like, I think there was like 60 some authors now.
Wow.
And it's just there's a Bible that we have to follow, and the thing is just immense now. And I've told people before, I feel sorry for the new authors that have come in, because I'm sure it's overwhelming to look at this Bible and be like, oh God, what have I got myself into? But you know, it was nice because I've gotten to work with the original creator and the publisher as we worked through, okay, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? There's actually, if you're a fan of Havenwood Falls, there's actually like a little map that you can look at on the website. You'll see there's actually a Hale Creek. So there's a creek in the town named after me as one of the originals. So that's kind of fun. But you'll see different names, streets and creeks and mountains and things like that are named after different authors that started in the series. But it's crazy because you have to look in that Bible and you have to make sure everything is cohesive. Everything has to mesh with everyone else's story. And it all has to come together with the original creator's idea. And if it doesn't get published. I mean, you know, it absolutely has to mesh. So it's definitely one of those things that it's a lot more work than doing your own thing. Because, you know, if something doesn't quite fit, you can go, I can tweak it and make it work. You can't do that with this. There's Havenwood Falls has a memory spell. And if you leave Havenwood Falls, if you get so far outside of the city limits, your memory your memory begins to fade of the town and the inhabitants. So, you know, you can leave Havenwood Falls and forget that it ever exists or you were ever there. It's just more like a dream. And that was one of the rules. And as I'm writing, I tend to forget that. And I'll be like, oh, they went to here and they went and saw this. And I'm like, crap, I can't do that because they can't remember that they were ever there. So I had to work through a lot of that. So there were a lot of very strict rules that we had to follow. And there were times when it was just like, I'm getting a migraine trying to figure out how to make it work. But in the end, it all worked flawlessly. I mean, we really have had some amazing stories come out of this little town. And although it didn't quite take off the way we were all hoping, and, you know, who said someday it may still end up, we would love to see it as like a Netflix series or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's still probably, I think, one of the most amazing shared worlds that's available right now, because it's just so diverse and everything is so interconnected that no matter which book you read, when you pick up another one, you're going to go, oh wow, I remember that character from the last book that I read. So it really keeps you sucked in, I think, and I love that about the whole entire project.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Excuse me. And I've got a question here, actually. Amy gets to take a break. Dylan Buck, welcome to the show. Brian, what was your favorite comic growing up and why? Well, of course, I've always loved the big S, Mr. L himself, Superman. But my favorite comic when I was growing up was it only lasted about 20 issues and it's been revived a couple times. It was from a very small comic company called Tower Comics, called Thunder Agents, the Higher United Nations Defense Enforcement Reserves. You know, and I still remember that stuff after all this time. But it was a beautiful, if you can imagine, superhero spies. You know, Thunder was a part of the UN, and they investigated crime across the world, and even like beneath the earth. They had various enemies, of course, against democracy. But what I really loved was they could tell in the same book some very dramatic stories. Then a funny story would pop up. One of the agents would be involved in a comedy. And the artwork would always change, and they got some great people like Wally Wood, Dan Atkins, Steve Skates, Mike Sikowski, Steve Ditko, John Giunta, Gil Kane, a whole bunch of really great creators to do stories in there. And it was always changing, always evolving. And there was a really good revival a couple of years ago from DC Comics, written by Nick Spencer. That was pretty good, but nothing was, quite like those old Cold War comics. So, Dylan, thank you for asking. That was a very good question. I appreciate that. Probably explains my twisted psyche these days. But, Amy, did you read comics when you were growing up? And if so, which one was your favorite?
No, I really didn't. It wasn't something that was part of our childhood, actually. I kind of had I don't want to say a chaotic childhood, but
yeah,
there was four of us kids, my parents working all the time. We were just like go, 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 go all the time. So reading wasn't something that we had a lot of time for. I think what memories I do have of growing up, until we were actually in school and of course schedules were nonstop. So I don't remember doing a lot of comics. And of course now I enjoy them very much. And I kind of look back and I think, oh, I hear people talking about their childhood in comics and I think, dang, I missed out on some stuff. So now I'm going back and I'm trying to, find things and read them because I hear all these amazing stories. And of course, I love superheroes and I love the movies and I love all the stuff. So I'm not one of those fans that I can quote you the canon. I don't know all the canon on a lot of stuff, but I'm learning.
That's good. That's good.
I'm willing to learn.
Good for you. At least you're willing to learn. We'll indoctrinate you soon. And Christy Robinson wants to know, how do you organize your thoughts onto paper?
Oh, sometimes my thoughts are seriously scattered. If you know how like when you get a virus and you open a tab and then it goes, that's my brain a lot of the time. I feel like my tabs are just all over the place. And I have to really rein them back in when I'm trying to get everything organized. I have a whiteboard in my office that I try to keep ideas on. And then I also have, I use Scrivener, and Scrivener has a corkboard option. Yes, I love it because it has a corkboard option where you can write ideas. It has a section for research where you can type in like a URL and it will pull that web page into your research. So all I've got to do, as long as I've got an internet connection, is click on that research and there's that web page, and I can scroll without having to ever leave Scrivener. I can pull in photos. So if I have photos for inspiration, they're right there in Scrivener. It allows me to organize everything right there. And Scrivener's like, what is it, Brian? Like $50?
It's not even $50 last time I looked, and you get a permanent license. So that if you,
I mean, it's really, it's not perfect. It has its, it has its glitches and whatnot, like any other program. But it's just been easier for me to organize using Scrivener. Like the current book that I'm writing scenes right now, and so I can mark each scene. It allows you to mark whether it's a first draft, a second draft, a third draft. You can mark something you're writing as a chapter. You can mark it as finished. You can mark it when you go to compile everything together. You can tell it whether or not you're ready to compile it, or if you want to leave it out of your compilation. I mean, it's really an amazing program. And I get no compensation for pushing it. I just really do like it. And then of course, and then when I'm ready to do editing, then I transfer it to Word, because you can save your stuff as Word. And then I send it to my editor, who does all the edits through Word. So I use both programs, but I do the bulk of my first draft and all of my notes and organization in Scrivener, because it just keeps, and I used to say paper, my handwriting sucks. So I can't write stuff on paper because I can't read it. I mean, it looks like chicken scratch. I make a doctor look legible. Yeah, it's just nice. So when I sign books for people, I'm like, I apologize if you can't read this letter. Because it's terrible. My handwriting is terrible. It always has been. But and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. Thank
Yeah.
God for computers at this point. I know some people, they'll do their entire book in longhand, and I'm so jealous because I'm thinking, how nice would it be to just sit down and write everything out? And I'm like, I can't. I cannot do it.
Oh no, God, no! I feel your pain. I really do.
Yeah.
And I will add that there's a little bit of a learning curve to Scrivener, but I think it's just a little bit. But even if you just use 10% of it, you will find it makes a huge difference in your ability to gather information.
It's not hard at all. And there's even another sister program, and I can't think of the name of it right now. I think it's called Scribbler. And I've been looking at it, and I may get it, but it actually allows you to like take like you can take like your central plot and you can actually draw out like diagrams, and you can, it's like using a digital whiteboard. It's very cool. I haven't decided yet whether it's worth the money, but I've been kind of playing with it. So I don't know yet if that's worth it, but something that I'm looking at, because I need to do timelines to keep things straight. Sometimes I get things confused in my head, when did I do this and when did I do that? So I have to really keep it, keep it tight, or I will totally blow my timelines and have everything all just everywhere. And then I get to spend hours going back and figuring out what I did. So much fun once you've done it once. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Hashtag real writer problems.
Yes, absolutely.
And we are greeted by our disciple here, Rick Bradley. Hey, good evening, Rick. Everyone. Good evening to you, Rick. Good to see you, man. Amy and I are taking full credit for you. Anyway, Ted Davies Artistry, what's the biggest problem or challenge for you in writing? Wow.
Getting past my own head, to be honest with you. I talked about this with my writing group yesterday. Vulnerable moment here. I suffer from major depressive disorder and anxiety, and with everything going on, it's been really, really hard lately. So it's hard for me sometimes to focus when there's so much chaos. So getting my head to just kind of calm down, pushing out everything that's going on and getting myself really in the story can be very, very difficult. Yesterday, I think I spent most of the afternoon just listening to music that I felt pertained to the topic of my newest book, simply just to get my head in the right space. All I did was listen to music. I did nothing else. I just sat there and listened to music. And occasionally I would like make a note in my phone. That was it. And I'm sure to anybody looking at me, they would be like, wow, she's just sitting on her butt. But it was me getting in the headspace, because I really do have to fight that on a regular basis. I don't know, some people might call that writer's block or whatever, but for me, it's just getting past my own kind of like barriers that I put up when the world's trying to push in. And there is when you've got some mental disorders, you really do have to break those down and get past them, especially when you're doing something that's creative. Sometimes being creative helps you get past them. But sometimes it's just almost impossible to be creative when they're just constantly, banging at your door, so to speak. So it's one of those things where I just really have to work at it really hard to get my head in the right space. And I'll be honest, there have been weeks where nothing has happened because I can't get my head in the right space. And I sat there and stared at a blank screen or reread what I've written over and over and over. And there's been 0 new words because my head just wouldn't cooperate. And then, of course, I complained to myself. I complained to my husband that I feel like I'm just wasting time. And then I end up, procrastinating and looking at Facebook or doing whatever else, or I'll read or whatever, trying to find ways to just get it going again. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, we also have to be easy with ourselves, Sometimes you just have to give yourself a break and go, it's okay that I'm not working right now. I'll take a day off and see how it goes tomorrow, which is what I've been doing lately. I took yesterday off, took part of today off. But I did a little bit of work the day before, It's okay. I'm doing good. I'm getting there. So I've got some ideas swirling again. So I'm getting back to it. So, sometimes you just got to give yourself a break.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. And right now, I would say getting on Facebook, except for this show, mind you, is not exactly a cure for what ails you.
Yeah, I don't. I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus from Facebook lately.
Same here.
Which
Same here.
Again, I explained to my Facebook group. I love you guys, but if it's not book related, I'm probably not doing it right now. So I need to just take a step back from all the negativity that's been just bombarding bombarding everybody, not just me, everybody. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's why you only should watch Clever Title Pending. It's the only show on the interwebs that's good for you.
That, and never mind the furthermore.
Why, gosh, I'd have never thought of that, Amy. Thank you very much. The check's in the mail. And speaking of things you can't unsee, Shenanigans sans bra. Throw it like Mary Tyler Moore throwing her hat. Oh, she's got more than a smile that'll turn the world on. Anyway, the hashtag PanelistCon 2020. Thank you, Russell Allen. You got it. You're in the right mode of thought here. You're going to fit in just fine here. And Shenanigans.
We may not have pants. You can't see.
It was the reason I exited how I did. It's warm up here. Anyway, and author Michaela Jade says shenanigans all around. And speaking of shenanigans, let's see. We got Ted Davies' artistry. Was the biggest problem or challenge for you in writing? Right? Yeah, we got that. And life right now. And Donna Carlene wants to know, what inspired you to choose your genres?
Oh, well, let's see. I think I said earlier that I enjoyed reading romance. So that's what I originally thought I was going to do. And I still enjoy writing it, but I also realized that I really kind of like the darker, edgier stuff. So I got into the paranormal romance, which kind of blended those together. And as I'm kind of developing my own style and finding my own, kind of just finding my own niche, I'm realizing that I don't know if it's necessarily horror. I don't know. I may go that route. I'm not sure. But I do like the horror stuff. But I like the thrillers and the stuff that is kind of mind bending, the stuff that kind of messes with you. So I think it's just been again probably back to the stuff that I used to like to read, and some of the stuff that I've just personally enjoyed, watching the paranormal stuff. It's the stuff that I just enjoy in general. So it makes me want to put more of that out there.
All right. And Rick Bradley says, bras off, got my attention. The show's going to hell already. And Donna Garline goes, bras, we don't need no stinking bras. Speak for yourself, I might. And Clyde Hall says, but I'm wearing a bra, so there's that. And Carl Witzman gathers the discarded underwear in a bag. Oh, anyway. Author Michaela Jane says, how do you come up with your covers now for your own covers and for what you do for other publishers? Of course, you're a hybrid author. How do you come up with the ideas for your covers, and what's the process when you're working for someone else? That's a very good question, Michaela. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Usually I try, at this point, I'm trying to take I take a scene from the book. So like with Ulterior Motives, there's a scene where there's a house that catches on fire. And there's also the main character, her mother loves roses. So the cover is a rose on fire. With Shadows of Jane, there is, she's at one point, she's in a field full of purple flowers. So this is her in a field full of purple flowers. And then of course it helps that I have some just crazy creative cover designers that have worked with me to help me come up with some of the concepts. So like these, and this is, I'm going to tell you, this was not planned. It just worked out perfectly. So this blew my mind. It's one of those things that after we did it, it kind of blew my mind because I realized we did it inadvertently. But we have Shadows of Jane. So you just get the back of her. She doesn't know who she is. She's figuring this out. In Shadows of Deception, she's learning who she is. So you're getting this profile of her. And this, we had no specific vision. We just knew that we needed to we're going to go with a different color scheme, but still kind of keep that mysterious vibe about it. So you're kind of getting this side view of her as she's kind of figuring out who she is, and she's pulling in these other characters in her story. And then, let me grab the last one. Shadows of Deliverance is the ending. She knows who she is, and she's fighting for what's right, and you're getting her full face. But we didn't plan it that way. We didn't plan it to be this gradual turning into who she is. It just kind of worked out that way. And then when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, we didn't plan it that way, but that's how it worked out. And then, of course, we went with different color schemes, but we made sure that it all kind of was cohesive. There's some snow here because in the last book, it's winter. And it was just one of those things where it just kind of all just came together. Sometimes it's just accidental, and you just kind of go, holy crap, that was awesome, Some of my stories are that way too. Some of the endings, when I get done, I write them and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually, where did that come from? I wasn't expecting that, but I'm going to use it. And like Catching Whitney was just about a fun couple. I don't generally like to use a whole lot. I love the symbolism on books, but this just kind of worked. This was about a couple that kind of used letters to communicate a lot, to keep from disrupting each other's schedules, and it's really kind of funny the way they did it. So that happened to work out. And then with the hybrid author, it was a little bit different with being a hybrid because I didn't have a lot of control. Basically what I did was I gave them my descriptions of the characters and what I thought they stood for. And then they had their cover designer come up with some different concepts. But almost every time, they nailed something that worked. So like with Somewhere Within, she's a frost dragon. So there's snow and she's kind of pale with the black hair. She's a young dragon or young vampire, and she's kind of, there's a lot of mystery, but up here you've got this, you can see them up there, the barbed wire coming down that looks like fangs at the top. So it's just those little things that just kind of stand out. That we've got flames among the frost, so you've got the flames, and then you've got the ice over here on the side. Yeah, there's ulterior motives. So you've got the house burning down and the roses, and so it was just all a matter of just kind of finding the right elements that told the story without giving too much away. Mm-hmm. And I've just been really fortunate, and I can't show you my newest cover yet because we're not quite ready. Brian's seen it.
It's good. It is good.
Really excited about the new cover because it's just seriously, I guess it's badass. This is the best way to describe it.
It is.
I'm really excited to show it because it is just all kinds of. Oh, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm just so excited to show everybody, but I can't show it yet because we're not ready.
Right.
But it gives you some kind of just like ominous feeling. It's just perfect for the story. So yeah.
It is. I'll tell you right now. It is a cover that will make you beg to break open your wallet. You know what I'm saying? It is. It is like it's great. It's a terrific cover. You'll be really impressed when you see it. And next week's guest has arrived a week early. Dave Woodrum goes here finally. Yay, Dave! He will be here with Dan Smith 1 week from tonight, talking about writing for the gaming trade. That is going to be a lot of fun. Dungeons and Dragons, so in this case, GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system, and other properties. And we're going to be talking Dave Woodrum and Dan Smith 1 week from tonight on Clever Title Pending. So please join us. And Dave may regret his decision in showing up when Christian Basil says, "No bra, no panties, no problem." Again, I thought I was the king of oversharing. Anyway, Michaela Jade says, "Wait, you have 11? I need another shipment of books. I only have like 4."
Yes,
I only have 7, so it's okay, Michaela.
Okay, so speaking of oversharing, I need
Yes.
to do something. This soda is kicked in. I really need to pee.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what we're going to do. Go ahead. We'll watch.
So if you guys can give me just a real quick minute, I will be right back.
I'll vamp. I'll go through some of the comments, and then we'll come back, and you come in, and I'll get you out of this thing, okay?
All right.
Hey, have fun, okay? Oh, for those of you joining us on YouTube and on Big River Comic Con, this doesn't always happen. I just go where I am. Anyway, let's get through some of the comments. Actually, while we're waiting for Amy, let's talk about our broadcast schedule for the rest of the week. And again, we want to welcome everyone who's watching from YouTube. And we hope that when you see what we have, that you will like the video you're watching, and please subscribe to my channel. It will benefit me because I'm planning on putting out a number of instructional videos about writing and publishing and creating in the immediate future. And we welcome that. Plus, you'll notice we have a crawl down here that talks about our, and I can't let you on, Amy, I'm selling stuff. Anyway, I also have a tip jar that if you like what you see in here tonight, especially with the idea that we'll let people go to the bathroom whenever they want. You don't even have to raise your hands for permission. And anyway, if you like what you see in here, we will gratefully accept your tips and acknowledge them in private. We really will. And now we're going to bring back Amy Hale. Okay, is it safe, Amy?
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's wonderful.
A Route 44 before the show, you know? And I have a bladder the size of a walnut, so that's the way it goes. Oh my gosh.
It's just a real moment, you know?
I knew I was not going to make it much longer. I was sitting thinking, do I try? Do I just hold it? No, this is not going to happen.
Not a Brian show, no. I'll never let it down.
I know we still have a lot of comments here. So
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We're going to rip right through them. Brace yourself, Amy. Well, you're a couple gallons lighter now anyway. But anyway, Carl Weston says, how many of your books are self-published and how many were mainstream publisher backed?
Okay, so let's see. 4 of them were published by an independent publisher. So the Havenwood Falls were by a publisher. These were through the publisher, these 4. The rest of them were self-published.
Very cool.
And I actually, it's kind of weird because it kind of comes and goes, but I'm finding that it's funny because you would think with a publisher, you would think, okay, so, oh my gosh, you're gonna make, you know, everybody thinks, oh my gosh, you're gonna make a lot more money if you're through a publisher. But it really kind of depends on what your contract is, and it depends on how things go. I mean, it could really change. You know, sometimes series sells real well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes my independent books do a lot better than, say, Havenwood Falls. And then the next month, it'll be the other way around. I'll make a lot more money on Havenwood Falls than I will. So, you know, I don't want to discourage anyone in going with an independent publisher or, any other publisher. But just keep in mind that self-publishing is not a bad thing at all because you do keep more of the profits. You take more of the risk, but you do keep more of the profits. So...
That's true. That's true. Rick Bradley wants to know, did you have a genre you didn't want to write, but it surprised you with how much you liked writing it? That is a very good question.
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't think so. Because, like I said, everything that I've written has been something that interested me so far. I haven't... I think the only time I've written something that was just kind of like, was when I was writing in the health industry and I was doing some freelance stuff. I actually wrote temporarily for one of those like self-help websites, like how to. Mm-hmm. I've written for some of those how to, I think it was howto.com. There's a few articles on there that are by me. How to put a camera strap on your camera, stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, just really simple, basic stuff that I wrote to get, to get a little extra income when we needed it. Basically. And they were just really seriously freaking boring. But I did it because it was a paycheck at the time. But there were sometimes when I would be going through and I'd pick out a topic and I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to write that, but okay. And it really wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But as far as, writing novels, so far there hasn't been anything I haven't enjoyed. Even my foray into attempting erotica wasn't terribly horrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be. So, and no, there are no books out there on erotica with my name on it. I'm just saying, don't look that up. You're not going to find it.
I'm using Amy Hale as my new pen name. Anyway, and author Michaela Jade asks says, rather, as long as the guy is sexy, who cares exactly what he looks like? Yeah, there's a girl who never forgets a face. And hello, my friends from Geek Insider. That's Meredith Logren, and Sarah. I finally get to hear your voice. She's hearing voices now. Okay. And speaking of Sarah, what well-known author or authors inspire you the most? That's an excellent question.
Oh,
you don't have to say me.
That's a good. Well, it's obvious it's you, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I mean, really.
I know. I just outside of Brian.
Thank you.
He's, funny. I actually read more independent authors than I do well-known published authors. I like the obvious, obviously Stephen King. I like J.K. Rowling. Diana Gabaldon, Outlander. I really like her stuff. I got a chance to meet her, and it was just really, really just inspiring to talk to her. But when it's all said and done, I mostly read people that are either independent or with smaller publishers. So I do enjoy, now as far as well-known, maybe not world famous, but well-known probably in their particular genre, I read Colleen Hoover, which I just love her stuff. I read Denise Grover Swank, who is good. She's with romance, and she also does some like cozy mystery type stuff. And then I just have so many friends that are just stinking talented. I mean, I can't even keep up. I have a TBR list that's just ridiculous, and I'll be dead before I get to it. So if I have one of your books and I haven't read it, I apologize. It's on the list. I will eventually get to it. If I don't, I apologize. It's because I died, okay? Because I swear I have, and I love doing, I love audiobooks for that reason, because I can listen to them while I'm taking care of things that I have to take care of. So, the stuff that has to be done, laundry, dishes, driving when I have to go places. I can always get caught up on my friend's work. So I love audiobooks for that very reason. But yeah, it's just, oh gosh. I really do though. I love independent authors. They're just all so awesome, and they don't get enough credit, by golly. They just really don't for their amazing work.
I agree. And Daryl Shaw says, hey, guys. Hey, Daryl, how you doing? And Meredith Logren says, well, poo. No, P. That was earlier. I was in the wrong account. Oh, well. So it goes. That's all right.
That's not ever going away, is it?
Yeah, not now. And that's okay, Meredith. You probably wondered, why does Sarah sound like Brian? Anyway, Sarah, I love the paranormal and darker stuff as well. As most people know, if they've talked with or heard from me, I'm interested in your work as well. You should be. I keep saying, Kathy Jackson was the first person I read their romance and could get all the way through and enjoyed it. first time ever. This was the second. Okay, this was the second one. I really thoroughly enjoyed that book, and I really think y'all ought to be picking that up too. Available on Amazon and I believe Smashwords too. Am I correct?
Smashwords, Barnes and Noble, iBooks. You can even, you might still be able to even find it on Walmart.com.
There you go.
And in a lot, I believe, pretty much anywhere you can buy ebooks, you can buy that. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Sarah also wants to know, have you ever written your worst fears into a book?
Ooh, not yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
There you go. Something to look forward to there.
Yeah.
And she also says erotica is awesome too. Interested in that and the paranormal darker books. All right. And here we go. Meredith is making the confession tonight. Don't mind me. I'm brain farting all over the place. I meant it's good to hear Amy Hale's voice. Oh, and said I saw Sarah.
Me and my OC accent.
And my Midwestern one. Yeah, I get you.
It used to be, but I'm originally from Oklahoma, so it used to be really twangy.
Oh, man. You've come a long way, young lady. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
Oh, and Meredith Logren says, I saw Sarah in the chat and got excited. She has that same effect on me, too, so that's all right. And by the way, 4 p.m. this coming Friday on the Oncon Network, please join the Comics Noob. Sarah, or not Sarah, now we're all talking about Sarah. Meredith Logren is the Comics Noob. Oh, and how much have I had? Anyway, she is going to be hosting Oncon on Friday as the Comics Noob, and I will be part of a panel where we're going to discuss critical elements of a comic book. So if you're interested in doing your own comic book, Amy Hale, you should probably watch the show. It'll be at 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Illinois time, Amy Hale, on the Oncon page also, wherever we can share it. All right?
Yes. I do need to watch that, yes.
You really should. You really should. Yes. She's had, I think this will be the 4th episode, and Meredith is planning on putting together her own comic book in a year, and she's doing it from the ground up and has enlisted many experts in the independent comic field and me to talk about how to do it. So it's always a good time. Meredith is a great host. I really love doing her show, and and plus she fondles my package regularly. So I sent her some books. What were you people thinking? Damn it. Anyway, Rick Bradley says, what book could you read over and over again?
Oh, okay. So my favorite book, and this is gonna totally not sound, because it's not the stuff I write at all. Okay.
Let's have it.
I know this sounds completely wild. So I love the Regency romances. Yes, I know. What are they called? The blood rippers, as they're called.
Yeah.
I love those. Because I learned so much about the culture of the aristocracy and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So Julia Quinn is one of my favorite authors, and I can't believe I didn't even think about mentioning her earlier, but I guess because she doesn't influence my work because I don't write that style, but I love to read her. And another one that I got to meet, and I totally just fangirled over her when I got to meet her. I'm sure I sound like a complete moron when I talk to her because I was just all bleh. But I got to meet her and have her sign some of my books that are like, they were falling apart. I'd had them so long. But she has a book called The Duke and I that is just, it's funny, it's kind of sexy, it's just so much of everything in the stories that I love. And I could read that book over and over and over. As a matter of fact, I probably have read that book over and over. And I also have it on audiobook, so I've listened to it several times as well. So when I really feel like there's nothing that's just grabbing me, that's the one I go back to just kind of give me something to fill my mind while I'm trying to get stuff done. Doesn't happen a lot very often because there's always something I need to be listening to or reading. But when I really, really want something a little more nostalgic, that's what I go back to, is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, now Carlene is mocking us with her laughter. Before we introduce Yeah, we're giving her plenty of material tonight, both of us. Lena D. Weidman, hello there. Welcome to the show. And hey, everyone, hello to you, Lena. How are you doing tonight? Hope you're all is well. And Rick wants to know about your pants. No, wait, are you a pantser or a planner?
I have no pants. I'm what I call a plantser. I kind of have an idea. I know my beginning and my end. And then I kind of pants the middle. I'm doing better about plotting. Plotting is one of those things that I've always struggled with because I have that general idea, but I let the story and the characters take me where they want to go, as long as I get where I plan to go in the end. But that's kind of difficult to do when you're on a deadline, especially when I started working for the publisher, because they want specific information. They want to know that what you're writing is going to fit in within their schedule and their deadline and what they're putting together. So you can't really be a pantser when you're working for a schedule or working for a publisher. You have to have specifics for them. So I had to learn how to plot a little better when I started working for Havenwood Falls. So I'm getting better. I'm still not great at it. I'm trying to do better with the current book that I'm working on, to really have a good, solid plot outlined before I really dig into it. And I'm getting there. But it's just one of those things where it's just like old habits die hard. And I know what's going to happen because it happens every time. I will get it plotted out. And as I write, the characters will change it on me anyway. But at least I will have had a general idea of where it was going before they screwed up everything. So,
It's all their damn fault.
Yeah, it is. I blame them.
Yeah. Well, you Grr. She's fierce. Sarah has a two-parter here. Have you ever considered writing things from the villainous/evil point of view? She has an interest in psychology, and a psychological thriller from the view of the villain is a curious thing. Have you done that, or do you plan to do something like that in the future?
I kind of do. Yeah, I kind of have something like that in mind. I don't know if it's full on point of view from the villain because I haven't fully plotted it out, but I have something that's kind of along those lines. I'll have to see how it goes to see if it stays that way. Because again, they change. I don't know. The characters are a pain in the butt. They change stuff on me all the time. I mean, anybody that writes probably can identify with that characters do what they want. Most of the time, you've got one idea and then they just go, I don't think so. So, yeah, you have to just kind of follow them along and then you go, what the hell were you thinking? That's not all what I had planned. But usually the characters do it better. So you follow them wherever they're going. Yeah, I kind of do. I just have to still kind of work through it and see where it's going to go first. So, and that'll probably be something that ends up a year or two down the line. I'm still kind of playing with it. I tend to overthink my plot lines. Well, they take way too long because I overthink them. But yeah.
Preaching to the choir, I tell you.
That's why I haven't had a book out in over a year. Because I've overthought all my plot lines.
Preaching to the choir again, yeah.
Yeah.
Carl Wisman asked if Meredith's brain faulted, and wing, people. No, he meant weaving, people. And hello, Eric. And TL Shively, hello, Orko and Amy. How you doing tonight? Rick Bradley would like to know what is the favorite character you have ever written?
Oh, it's really a toss-up between Jane and Jetta. Jane is a favorite in that she can do so many cool things, and she grows so much between book 1 and book 3. Like book 1, she's this scared practically little girl almost. I mean, she's not a little girl in age, but she's been sheltered, so she just doesn't understand the world. And then by book 3, she's this badass that's ready to just take on everybody. Don't you dare get in her way. But Jetta's kind of like my rock and roll alter ego. She's tattooed up. She's a half dragon. She does what she wants. Nobody tells her what to do. She's a rock and roll kind of gal, and she just, I don't know, kind of like what I would be. She's what I would be if I could be just a little bit more humble, I guess. So well, it's a toss up between the two because I love them both so much.
Mm-hmm. I get that. And thank you, Cookie, for the refill. And Meredith Longman says, my brain did fall and flew away. Let's see. Here we go. Rick Bradley rather says, if you could write any licensed property, what would that be?
Ooh. Wow. That's an interesting question. I think as far as licensed property, the only probably that I've had actual ideas for have been probably surprise supernatural. I have actually had some ideas for some Sam and Dean type stories. Now, obviously, I'm probably never going to get any kind of permission to write them, so it would be fan fiction if I ever did it. But I absolutely I've had some ideas, so I think I would love to be able to write some supernatural stories. And I know that recently there was a call, which I don't know if it's still available, for Doctor Who, because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. But I've never written sci-fi, so I don't know, as much as I love Doctor Who, I don't know if I could actually write sci-fi. So I don't know. That's a really hard question because there's just so many things I love, but it's hard to decide. But probably supernatural.
Sounds good.
It's got all those elements that I love, plus it's my favorite show. So
there you go. Yes, and you'll notice that the addiction she has in the back. You'll notice quite a bit of
all my supernatural back there.
Yeah. Like I said,
one wall.
Yeah, the other three are collapsing under the weight of all that plastic. So
I got my Doctor Who wall. In front of me is my office wall. It's just, this wall is mostly window, or there would be more. So
you can always board it up and put some railings on there. Author Michaela J. Now this is worthwhile. Michaela J. says, Amy, you might believe me, but I'm proud to call you my friend, and you are an inspiration. You have accomplished so much, and you're not even done.
Oh, thank you. I'm proud to call you friend too, Michaela.
Yeah. Well, you are an inspiration. You keep hammering at this, and I know you've got, we've all got challenges, but I know you've got some too, and you still get through it all, and you are so versatile. Let's embarrass her for a while. It's like, you're an inspiration to a lot of us, Amy, and I want to thank you for being on here. So
I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, cool. We'll see how you feel. We still have 45 minutes to go. It could change it can really change rapidly. We're going into double jeopardy where the scores can really change now.
I still have a little left, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, there you go. And I just I'm on my third now in probably in the time I shouldn't. I'm glad I'm not doing this from a faraway place, because somebody'd have to drive me home. Oh, yeah. Anyway, Bill. Yeah, I need a designated drunk driver. Bill Sarton
out of my office when this is over. Come get to the bedroom.
That's right. Help me. Bill Sarton says, I apologize if this sounds like a cookie cutter type question, but where would you like to be in your career 5 years from now, considering all you've done already? Have you ever thought about where you plan to be and when?
Wow. It's one of those questions that you think about, and it probably sounds, I know my answer is probably going to sound pretty cookie cutter as well, because I would love, obviously, to be doing well enough that we were financially independent with my work. I'd love my husband to be able to retire and just work with me. Our goal, like hashtag bring Cookie home, is hashtag bring John home, basically. I would love for him to be my advertising and media manager. I would love to have a situation where we just travel together and we're able to just enjoy, I say what I call our golden years, because we're getting up there, where we can just spend our time together enjoying what we've got left, just traveling and doing this, because we do. Those of you that have seen me at events, he's always with me. This is our thing. This is our together time. And I would love to be at a point where that was what we were actively doing. That was our goal, where he's with me. And of course, every author's goal, New York Times bestseller list. Hitting a few lists would be great. Of course, who doesn't want maybe a movie deal or two thrown in there? How cool would it be to see Jane on screen? I would love to see Jane's story on screen. I don't know. I mean, realistically, I can't really say what I expect to happen, because life is just so unexpected. I mean, good Lord, who thought we'd be doing what we're doing right now in 2020? I never thought 2020 I'd be spending most of my time sitting at home looking at the computer and thinking I might get to go out one day. I haven't seen my friends in months.
Yeah.
But I think what I would like, obviously, would be to be independent enough that John and I could travel together, and that could be what we do. We travel together, we work on this thing together, and we build this publishing thing together, where he's working with me full time, because this is something that, no matter my age, physical ability, this is something I can always do. As long as I can think, which I know that's questionable at times. This is something I can always do. So, here we go.
I hear you. Eric Hawkins is bewildered. What? No comics? I can't comprehend that. You missed the comic section. We had a comic talk earlier.
I wasn't as privileged to grow up with comics as some people. I just,
Yeah.
What can I say?
And
I did have a father that told me stories of superheroes.
Oh, there you go.
One of these days, Brian and I will reveal our secret project that involves superheroes and comics. We're working on it.
Yes, we have a project that the two of us are working on. Mostly her, because it's her project. I'm just there to shepherd it along. It's going to be brilliant. I've been waiting for it to happen. I really have. You all are going to be so excited when you read it. I guarantee. Question for Amy from Meredith Logren. How do you feel about writing groups and associations? Is participation in them part of your journey as an author? That's a great question, Meredith. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I had considered joining, say, like the Romance Writers of America.
Sorry.
Because it was something that several years ago was definitely something that I thought would have benefited me at the time. But I also realized that group, and I'm not dumping on that group. I'm just saying that as an independent author, it's not really set up to help independent authors so much as it's more set up for those that are in like the big 5 publishing houses. It was kind of getting there before some things really went crazy this last year or so. There are definitely some great publishing associations and groups that I definitely think are beneficial. There are as a matter of fact, today, and if you haven't, I need to share the link on my page soon. Today there was a Senate Judiciary Committee meeting on copyright law and piracy, and I watched. I watched part of it today. And the president of the Authors Guild was on there. And you can be a member of the Authors Guild, which is something that I've been thinking about checking into, because they're advocating for us as authors to, put a stop to all this piracy, all the money that we've lost, all the things that have been keeping us back a little bit as independent publishers, not just the big 5, but people that these us little guys that are still trying to. We don't have thousands and thousands of man hours to sit there and constantly send the takedown notices, and they're fighting for us, even though we're not necessarily members of the guild. So I think some of those are definitely worth joining. I can't say that I haven't joined any. I've been members of small writing groups that weren't like official writing groups. And I've enjoyed those. And it's just a matter of vetting out and finding out what's a good fit for you and for your particular goals. And I definitely don't recommend dumping a bunch of money into a group if that's not where you're at right now. If that makes sense. I know some people are all about, just throw a bunch of money at something, but it's the same way with advertising. Don't throw a bunch of money at something if you don't have something to really push, So same thing with the group. Don't throw a bunch of money at a group if it's not going to really benefit you. Sometimes the free groups are every bit as good as these big associations. So, I just say I'm not a member of any at the moment, but I'm keeping my eye on some. And I'm going to see how they grow. But yeah, at this point, not so much. I'm just kind of watching.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that, because I follow this one YouTube channel called Leonard. It's oh God, I forgot the first part, but it's a guy named Leonard French who actually reads the briefs from various lawsuits, and he was reading one about the copyright thing, one of the briefs that went into it. I'm very interested in that. I think we all should be.
Yeah. And you can. I'll try to share the link on my author page. You can go back and watch it now that they've got it recorded. You can watch. And it's with some very interesting arguments. Now, some of them you just want to smack people because they're just like, oh no, everything's fine the way it is. We don't need any reform in the copyright laws. But Don Henley from the Eagles spoke. And he talked about how there's, so many trillion videos uploaded to YouTube every day. And, like I think it was trillion or billion, but there's like 4 trillion of them have copyright violations. And who has to sit there and go through those all day long? And that's, I think he said that his company that publishes his music has 60 people, I think he said it was, and I may be getting that wrong. It's been a long day, but I watched it. He was saying he had, they had a certain staff of people that sit there 5 to 6 days a week, and that's all they do is search the internet for copyright violations. Us little guys do not have that kind of manpower or time or even money to throw at that. So, and I had listened to Susan Tisdale talking about there's this. You hear a lot of people say piracy, those people weren't going to buy your books anyway. Some weren't, but there's actually a study that went out that showed that a lot of people that pirate books are doctors, lawyers, teachers, people that could afford to buy them, but had 1 or 2 bad experiences and just decided that I just don't want to buy books anymore. So they could, and they would. But because they have free access, they're just taking advantage. So that's a fine line. But if we can get rid of a chunk of those pirates, we're helping ourselves at least somewhat. And I know that's a really controversial subject. I don't want to jump into that too much, but
that might make a good subject though for one night in Clever Title Pending about piracy.
Absolutely, because it is a big problem, and it is something that needs to be. They need to find a way to deal with it. That's better than just the DMC. What is it? The DCMA or DMCA takedowns.
Yeah, digital rights management, isn't it? Yeah. Or I'm thinking DR. I'm thinking something else. Yeah, I always get confused with all the letters.
But anyway, you have to send that takedown, and then they can do a counter thing, and then it goes back and forth, and then in the end you end up having to file a lawsuit if you can even afford to do that. It's just a major pain in the butt for the little guy, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. So it's one of those things that I definitely think, and that is where associations do help sometimes, because they will fight for you. Say like the whole Cockygate thing a couple of years ago, Romance Writers Association stepped in and paid for those legal fees for their authors that were being badgered by that author that was trying to, have them take Cocky out of their titles when she had no right to do that. So that can be a huge help, especially if these associations will help cover legal fees and things like that. But it's just all about, where are you, where are you in your needs and what these associations can provide you. So that was a long way to get to that answer, wasn't it?
It was fascinating. And I find the business about this, to be interesting. That's why I tell people this show is about creativity and the business behind it. But as creatives, and that's the thing. We are in essence business people, and what we do is a business, and we need to know this stuff. Is the thing. We just can't think we're just going to be hitting the typewriter all day and. Beauty will come out and on the first draft, and then we make $1 billion on it. No, there's a whole lot of moving parts to this thing. Yeah. Rick Bradley says, "What cool stuff can we expect from you in the future?"
Oh, well,
look past your current work. What are you anticipating? And your comic book.
Yes, so definitely have the comic book in the works. I'm excited about that. And I can't wait till we can talk more about that, but we need to get it going. I hate to announce things that are not quite set in stone yet. My current book that I'm working on is a psychological thriller, and I can tell you the name. It's called Neurosis, so I can give you that much. And I'm hoping to have that out this summer. It's just I'm not setting dates on that just quite yet either, because it's still developing plot lines and whatnot. Outside of that, I'm kind of leaving my schedule open to see where my creativity takes me. I've got several ideas, kind of like my tabs. I have several tabs open, but nothing has really jumped out at me as far as what's next. So I haven't set any definite schedules, especially with the way things have been going with 2020. I've been a little afraid to set a lot of schedules. So I've got a lot of ideas. I'm just not executing a lot right now. I'm waiting to see what happens. But I don't know. I just know that I'm really excited about doing the darker stuff. So I think there's a lot more of that coming down the pike, a lot more thriller, horror type stuff. Probably less romance, although I still have some ideas for that as well. But I'm really enjoying kind of delving into my darker side a bit here. So who knows?
Well, remember, frightening things is always waiting for you.
There you go.
Yeah. And Michaela J says, Scrivener is cheaper than Microsoft Word. Wow. Yeah. Meredith Logren says, I miss Scrivener. I need to get that program again. I loved how it organized the files and chapters. And yes, we did answer this. Amy is not wearing any pants whatsoever. So now we've got that settled. Thank you for asking that question, Meredith. And Christy Robinson says, thank you. I can write poetry like it's nothing but stories. They really get jumbled in my mind. Well, I would say you have to find whatever works for you. My first book was written with, the old 3x5 file cards, and you shuffle them and you write them out then. And some people use Post-it notes on a wall or whatever. But you basically have to, I think you have to find the system that works for you. Because even after 8 years, I'm not working the same way I did back then.
I actually have a friend who writes for Harlequin. She's like on her 20-something book.
Wow.
And she uses note cards still, and each chapter is a note card, and each chapter on each note card has like conflict resolution. She has, each chapter has to have the conflict and the resolution, and she'll go through and she'll just kind of write out what each chapter is going to have, and then she can also kind of, if she needs to, she can take those note cards and go, okay, wait a minute, that doesn't work here, so I'm going to switch it. Mm-hmm. But she just uses the 3x5 note cards, and it works great for her. And she's been doing this, like I said, she's on her 20-something book for Harlequin. She makes a living doing it. That's all she does. So if you want to look up, if you like Harlequin and romance, look up Kathy Donosky. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
So Kathy's local here to me, and we were all part of a writers group together before I started writing, before I started actually publishing. we just all sat together and talked writing. And that was when I was freelancing for other, places and writing my nonfiction stuff. And Kathy was a big inspiration for me to push forward in my fiction stuff. But yeah, she came in one day and was talking to our group about how she did this, and she was showing us her note cards, and I was like, oh my gosh, this seems so simple. So basically, that's Scrivener is just basically that, but digital. So if you don't like the digital side of it, which I admit can be a pain in the butt if you look up, oh my God, everything's gone. I've had that happen. It's frustrating as crap.
Yeah.
Then just make notes on note cards. That works too.
Sure. And Dave Woodrum asks, is it Scapple, the other program? I'm looking at this now.
Yes, Scapple. That's it. Thank you. Okay. I can't remember the name of it, but yes, Scapple is the other one that lets you kind of draw out and diagram your entire story. It's really cool.
I'm gonna check that out myself. I'm always looking for new ideas. So
yeah, it's really awesome. Like I said, I haven't decided if it's for me, but I like the general idea.
Yeah, it sounds like brain mapping. That was big when I started writing books. Yeah. All right, and I'll allow you and Amy to take credit for me, I guess. We'll also arm wrestle Kathy Jackson, see if she wants in on this too. Dave Woodrum, on getting past one's own head, I sometimes overanalyze stuff, and being a designer that works in larger than life genres, that's not always helpful. I tend to try to argue fantastic themes against reality too much. Yeah. Yeah,
John and I were having this conversation the other day about 2020. I told him, I said, if I sat down and wrote out everything that has happened this year and put it in a book, people would leave reviews and go, I don't believe this. This stuff doesn't happen in real life. This is crap. Yeah. This is totally, I just spend, blood. No one's going to believe this stuff happens,
I don't believe it either some days.
I can't believe this is life right now.
Yeah.
I tend to overanalyze because I'm worried. Is this way out there? Are people going to be like, and I have to fight that because like even in like my I think it was Flames Among the Frost, or no, Shadows. Oh, I gotta get my books confused. Somewhere Within, she changes into a dragon. Which one is it? She changes into a dragon, and somebody told me, said, "Oh, this is totally unbelievable. That would hurt more." And in my brain, I'm going, "It's all unbelievable. You can't actually change into a dragon." So
yeah, yeah.
And I know people hate Twilight. People love Twilight. Whatever. People's like, dragons, or vampires don't sparkle. Okay, that's fine. Classic, vampires. If you're into that, that's great. But then I also say, wait a minute, this is fiction. In Stephanie Meyer's world, they do. But if you want to get really technical, vampires don't do shoot.
You can say naughty words. You can say naughty words, Amy, if you want. So yeah,
they don't exist, so they don't do anything. So I know I'm fixing to blow your mind here. Vampires aren't real.
No, Santa Claus, tell her it's not true.
So at some point we have to go, okay, wait a minute. I realize that this is different than what a lot of people expect, but this is my spin on this story. Mm-hmm. Frankenstein. How many people are expecting him to be Santa Claus? No one. But that's your version, and that's why it's awesome, because it's Brian's version of Frankenstein. You've got to at some point go, okay, Brian's going to make out with the book while I talk. Stop tonguing the cover.
We're going to hell again.
But yeah, I mean, you have to really get past your head and go, wait a minute, every story's been told a bajillion times. Mm-hmm. You just have to find a new way to tell it, a way to tell it that is with your spin, something that maybe no one else has thought of. And even if they have thought of it, you're not them. So do it your way. And I try to really push that on new writers is do it your way. Don't worry about if somebody's already told this story. Now, don't blatantly copy someone. Obviously, that's really bad. But do it your way and just enjoy the process. Because I've done this. I've been so worried about if it will be, is this the absolute best I can make it? Is this, are people going to criticize this? Is it not right? Is it blah, 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 to the point that I've made the process not fun anymore. And when it's not fun, it comes out in your writing. It's obvious you're not enjoying it. So you need to enjoy the process in order to really make it good.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And we are going to hell. We are going to hail, according to Rick Bradley. And Eric says, that's right. There we go. She rules. And Brian has that effect on everyone, so I wouldn't feel bad about it or think it's you. And Charles says, Millhouse picked the wrong time to show up. How you doing, Charles? Good to see you, buddy. Oh, we're having too much fun tonight. Meredith Walgren goes, what happens when you have the voices of many stories in your head? How do you this is a great question. How do you prioritize?
Yeah. I usually go with the ones that are screaming at me the loudest, because I've had that happen. I've had several. I've actually had to open like Word or Scrivener, whichever I'm working on at the time, and write down notes for each one just to get them out of my head. Not write the book, but just write the notes so that I can say, okay, yes, I hear you, character. I'm going to write down what you're telling me real quick here. Now, shut the hell up so I can work on this other stuff.
Yeah.
And just, get it out of the way. And then, and then the one that's the loudest, the one that is really just kind of pounding in my chest, this has to be written. That's the one I'm going with. Unless, of course, obviously, I have a deadline on something else and I have no options, which that has happened. There's been times when I've been dying to write something else. And I've had to been like, I can't because I have to do this. This is an obligation. So I've done that. I've had to push that really loud voice aside and say, you're just going to have to wait your turn. But if I've got that freedom to choose, I choose the one that's just really screaming at me that this is the time to write the story. And that's the one I go with. And the others, they get some side notes so they don't forget what they're telling me. And then I push them in the closet and I shut the door and I lock it and I tell them to shut up. I'll feed them later. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now we have a really important question here. We cut to the chase here. Rick Bradley wants to know your favorite Supernatural episode.
Oh.
Now it's getting real, people.
Out of 15 seasons, I'm supposed to pick one? Oh, my gosh. Dude. Okay, so I always love the funny ones, obviously. So it could either be The French Mistake, where they pretend to be, for those who have watched Supernatural, where the boys pretend to be Sam and Dean, pretending to be the actors, pretending to be Sam and Dean, which is just totally meta. It's nuts. Or it could be the one, probably, which would be maybe Yellow Fever, where Dean, who is this butch, tough guy, is terrified of everything. There's one scene where a cat jumps out of a locker and he screams like a little girl. It's just hilarious. So it's probably one of those two. And then, of course, there's always kind of a tie with the bad luck one where Sam gets a lucky rabbit's foot and he has this really good luck until he doesn't, and then everything goes to hell. He loses his shoe, he falls and skins his knee. I mean, he's sitting in a room, in a chair in the middle of a room, nothing is happening, and the air conditioner catches on fire. So, I mean, he can't win for, losing. So it's really tough, but I definitely love the humor that's in Supernatural, so it's probably going to be one of the funnier episodes. So it's kind of tough to choose those, but yeah. Yeah, it's kind of tough, but yeah, one of those three definitely, probably those top two.
There you go. There you go. And Sarah says, barbed wire in the shape of fangs on the cover make me want not be poor. I once the precious. Dark clothes with pale skin sounds like something I see in the mirror when my reflection is seen in a mirror. And she loves this. And Bill Sargent wants us to activate the PCAM. Okay. And did she? Oh, Carl Westman is getting a little real here. Did she have to take off to get rid of her underwear? And yeah, you can tell we're behind in the comments. For those of you who came in late, boy, did you miss something. And Amy leaving. So that is how you sneak in a bathroom break if you were being interviewed, asking for a friend. I'm blaming Dan Smith. I don't blame you. And of course, Eric says, depends. Essential for streaming. Just ask Carl Witzman. And the fastest pee in the West. You know, this is funny. When I was in high school, I was friends with a local disc jockey, and he told me about a veteran disc jockey who could completely evacuate like 1 and 2 in 20 seconds. And I thought that is a great talent, you know.
Really? My bathroom luckily is just right across the hall. It's like right there. It makes
yeah. Yeah, and I've got one on every floor, and this was a sales feature. And of course, Charles wants to know if you washed your hands. And Carl, yes, I'm sure she did. She practiced. Quickly. She was probably doing it while she was on the pot just to save time.
And then I also had my hand sanitizer on top of that.
That stuff tastes terrible. Anyway, Carlene says she's not going to live that down ever. Not if I have anything to say about it. And empty coffee can.
The right bathroom.
Well, that's true. Jose Santiago can't say that. That's for sure. Be sure to watch Amy's interview with that guy. He's a great guy. He's funnier, but he has no sense of direction. And Sarah says, oh, my God, I love Amy. And don't we all? And Eric Hawkins says that was way too quick. She didn't wash her hands on. And I guess that depends.
You don't know how fast I can pee, dude.
There's probably a trail between her chair and the ladies' room. And that's why we love Amy. Molly Daniels, glad to see you. Rick Bradley, it was like when Forrest Gump met the president. Amy could have gone to the bathroom the way Steve Martin did in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. That's what I was thinking. And of course, ain't this a pisser? Yes, it is, Rick Bradley. And there's our boss right now. Hey, kids. Hi, Darren. How you doing? Boy, did you show up on the wrong show. Anyway. When you have us put us next to each other at the show, please, Darren Logue, at the Big River Comic Con October 2nd through the 4th, and make sure we're close to the restrooms too. Just saying. And Russell Allen says, I'm just glad they didn't cross the streams. Never cross the streams. And Dave Woodrum said, I made more in the last few months of self-publishing than I did the whole couple of years or so prior to writing with others. Yeah, seriously.
Can be, yeah.
And, yeah, you keep more of the percentage. Yeah, you really do. That's why I'm working mostly for myself this year.
And, and it's funny, people don't realize the percentages you make.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think, oh my God, this book is $2.99 on Amazon, so the author's making $2.99. That is not how that works. Mm-hmm. Amazon gets their cut. You get 70% of that $2.99. If it's under $2.99, you get 30%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if it's a 99% book, you get 30% of that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of 99-cent books to make any kind of profit.
Yeah.
So when people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're charging $5.99 for an ebook after you've worked on the book for 6 freaking months,"
yeah,
it's really hard to help people understand that you're not getting 99 cents when they buy a 99-cent book. Plus, you've got your fees from Amazon as far as your delivery fees on top of that. So, if I sell 199-cent books, I'm not making $100. Not even close. But people don't understand how that works, so they just automatically assume. If I sell a $10 paperback, I'm not getting $10. There's no way. Not even close.
Mm-hmm.
So big difference there.
Yeah, that's true. And so a lot of people don't realize that, like with the big five, I think, it has like a sliding scale. The more you sell, the higher your percentages, but it cuts off at around 17%, I heard. So I tell people if Stephen King's got a $25 book and I've got a $25 book, I'm actually earning. That's another nice thing about self-publishing. Plus, you are in control.
Yeah.
Dave Woodrum says, I typically only agree to freelance now on projects by folks that I consider friends or things that I personally find to be really cool. With my experience of getting paid by others, I tend not to look at the monetary factor versus I want to do this factor.
Yeah.
That's pretty much true for most of us, I think. And Darren Oak says, hi, Amber Allen Cooley. Well, hi, Amber Allen Cooley. We hope to see you soon. And hello. And Carl Wisman says, Sarah, watch on YouTube, chat on Facebook. There we go. Carl's bossing people around. Eric says, reminder, Google erotic Amy Hale layer.
You're not going to find nothing. I'm telling you.
We'll just see. The gauntlet has been hurled. And Eric Hawkins says, Amy, even though you are limited in your comic knowledge, who would be your favorite comic book artist?
Is that a loaded question?
I think... Just say Eric Hawkins and I'll be happy.
Would it be Eric Hawkins? Because I got this really cool comic back here by this guy named Eric Hawkins that I adore because it's just an awesome comic.
Oh, that must be Spencer Spook because the writing was so good.
It might be. There's also this Wonderful World of Oz too.
That's my favorite. Darren Logue tries to get us back on track by asking, have you ventured into putting any of your books in an audio format?
Yes. Ulterior Motives is an audiobook on audible.com, and then you can find that also. If you go to find my book on Amazon, you'll see the audio format there as well. And then I was hoping this year, this 2020, thank you 2020.
Thank you 2020.
Thank you very much. I was going to start with the Shadows trilogy. Shadows of Jane was on schedule to be on audiobook as of June this month. This month it was going to be on audiobook. Had a male and a female narrator lined up. We had the contract signed. If you've never done audiobook and you've never had to hire professional editors and actors and whatnot, it is ridiculously expensive. So I had saved up money to do this. This was the plan. And then 2020 decided to just crap all over all of us. And work slowed down, and I had to put that money in savings in case things got really bad. So I could not afford to do that and had to back out of my contract. So at this time, there's nothing else on audio, but I am hoping that things will get better here soon and I can set that back up. They are still willing to do it. But they understand the situation, obviously. But I just think Shadows of Jane is going to be they did a sample chapter for me and I was just so freaking excited because it sounded so good with the male and the female narrator. So I can't wait to have the entire series done, and they're willing to commit to all 3 books, but I'm not kidding when I say it's expensive. To have this production company do this, we're looking at $1,000 for 1 book, and I've got 3. So it's a big investment. It's something that I was really excited about doing, and then
2020, yeah.
2020 did its thing. So
yeah. You can always go back to it though, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's something that I can reschedule and we can do later in the year or do next year if that's the case. So I'll just gonna take a little longer.
There you go. Be worth waiting for.
I'm not good at being patient, but want to be patient.
Lord, give me patience and give it to me now. Molly Daniels' Amazon list is 20 pages long. I relate to that. Amber Allen Cooley says, I work in a library and my list of 2 reads grows every day.
I can imagine.
We understand. Sarah says there is a donation for books for prisoners. Do you think you would donate to things like that could pick up more viewership no matter where the reader is?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problem donating. I do have friends that have done it. There are a few things that there are some cons to doing that, because some prisoners like to try to communicate very intimately with the authors if they really like a book. But I have no problem donating to prisoners. I've donated to, there was a thing here sometime back. They were sending books to soldiers in Afghanistan, and I sent some books there. So yeah, I have no problem donating to any of those causes. So yeah, I would absolutely do that. If somebody has information, if you have information, Sarah, just send me, and I'll be glad to do that.
And if you get any of these prisoners that want intimate pictures of you, Amy, just send a picture of John, Mr. Amy Hale.
As my daughter used to do, she had a couple of guys that would send her pictures and be like, send her shirtless pictures of themselves with their muscles and whatnot. And if you guys, those of you who know Rachel, this is not going to surprise you. They would be like, okay, now it's your turn. And she would send them back pictures of a very chunky, hairless man. That's what a picture. So
that's what I was posing for. Oh, wait a minute. Damn.
So yeah. So and then of course then they never talked to her again, which was fun. So yeah. So yeah, there are ways of getting around that.
Yeah. Oh, Rick Bradley says Ulterior Motives is an audiobook too. I got it and I loved it. Many twists and turns. I agree. That was a fine book. Dave Woodrum says, Amy, I'd like to have your Okie accent. I'm as Appalachian vocal wise as they get. Yeah, he's been warning me about being on next week's show that we might need subtitles for it.
Yeah, I'm in Illinois now, so it's really cleaned up. But when I go back home to visit family, it gets really fast. I'm just telling you. So I'm just I'm not exaggerating at all.
I get it. I go back to East Central Illinois, and I start dropping my G's. So, and Darren Lowe says, start condensing words, start making shit up. But anyway, Darren Lowe says, can't wait to see y'all in October. Darren, I think I speak for Amy. We're both looking forward to Big River Comic Con, and it's brcchannibal.com, I believe. Check out that website. Amy and I will be just two of the guests there, and we are really excited. I'm really excited to be there. Finally, I've been looking forward to this for years. So
it was so much fun last year. It really was. It was great.
I'm looking forward to the debauchery. Oh, wait, that's what I'm causing. Anyway, Sarah says that Sweet Meredith, excited to see you too. And Amy better be at Silcon some year. We'll get along swimmingly. Well, you've been at most of them, haven't you? You've been at just about every one of them I've been.
The last 2 years, yeah. That was it last year. And of course, they didn't have it the year before, and I was at the year before last.
Right,
so, right. I should be there this year if all goes as planned. So
Hope so, because I might be bringing Cookie too. And now the party begins as I go to bed at 7. Anyway, Harley Slavik says, greetings to you, Harley. Bill Sarton, if you could meet a famous author, dead or alive, who would they be? And what single question would you ask them that would aid your craft?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm glad you're the guest of the show and not me.
I'm sober enough to answer a question that deep.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Let's see. Famous author, dead or alive. Who?
Would you like to come back to that?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that is.
So I can think of so many. Like, I kind of would like to pick Edgar Allan Poe's brain. Because, that dude was sick. Some of the stuff he wrote was just out there, The Pit and the Pendulum, holy crap,
Or The Cask of Amontillado. I think that's one of the scariest books ever.
Yeah. I think I would love to just ask him, does he sleep at night? yeah, just just how do these ideas form?
Mhm.
Of course, what could I ask to aid my craft? I think I would think, I think I would probably ask him, maybe give him an idea of mine and then say, should I be committed? Because some of the ideas I've had are
Yeah.
definitely not normal. And it makes me wonder if I should be talking to someone professionally. Um,
You do. It's called an editor.
yeah. Write it down, and then I have an editor look at it, and then the editor goes, I don't know why I talk to you anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. Especially when it's like horror or something, you write that down, you wonder, is this going too far? But then I've also, I don't know, I've seen enough horror movies out there to go, no, nothing I have is that bad. So, yeah, there's some out there that I look at and I'm like, no. So, yeah, I think I would just ask him about how he executes the story, the dark stories, how he brings them out without questioning maybe his sanity, or maybe he did question his sanity. I mean, this is Edgar Allan Poe we're talking about. And he wasn't exactly revered in his time. So I don't know.
That's a tough question. That was a very good question indeed.
Good question. Very good question.
Yeah. Let's see. Molly Daniels says, many years ago, my publisher had us interview one of our villains, and that blog hop was so much fun. It was really cool to see them all justify their actions. Yeah. I've done that with like to get into their heads. I write like a page of dialogue where they try to explain themselves while being duplicitous and everything, and they think they're fooling you, or they don't think they're fooling you. It's really a lot of fun.
To do that. Yeah, that's a good way to do that.
Yeah. And here we go, Cindy Kemp, CKOEPP.com. And hello, how in the world are you? We ask the same of you, Cindy, and I know the answer to this one. Amy Hale, which is your favorite doctor? I know this one.
Yeah, so it's really a tough, it's very, very close, but it's the 10th Doctor. I also love Matt Smith. I love the 11th Doctor. Now, that being said, I will never, my first love is Tom Baker. He was my first Doctor. So he's my first love. But my favorite, especially with the new series, is Tennant. He's just been my favorite. With 11 being just right there behind him.
I knew it. Yeah. And we got a special appearance by Brian Ingerman, two of my favorite peeps. Well, not to you, Brian. Good to see you, brother. Hope you are well. Hope all is going well for you. It's good to see you here, man. And Bill Sargent, I insulted him calling him Brian. Bill Sargent says, bring Cookie home and bring John home. And bring Cookie and John home. Yeah, definitely. We're going to put them to work. We're going to put them to work, I say. And Harley Slavic, welcome, Harley.
Make a lot of money, hashtag.
There we go. Hashtag do all the hard work and Brian can sleep in. Anyway, have you given thoughts to creating graphic novel or comic book versions of your work, Amy Hale?
Yes. Actually, I have talked to Eric Hawkins about the web comics. Was it Webtoons?
Webtoons, yeah.
I have asked him about it because I noticed that he has the Zombie World of Oz on there, and I actually am an avid reader of the Webtoons. And I'm noticing that I'm seeing people put their books on there as graphic versions of their books, and I had thought The Shadows of Jane might make a really cool webtoon or maybe a cool graphic novel because she is such a dynamic character that can do so many cool things. So I would love to see her as a graphic novel or a comic book or something of that nature. How to go about it is a whole nother story. That's a lot I don't know that I'm still learning, which again, I'm talking to Brian about comic books right now. So, but I would love to see that eventually. Because I think Jane would be the perfect comic book hero when it's all said and done like that.
Very cool. Very cool. And Eric Hawkins says, I know you had a comic conversation earlier. You were that far behind in the chat, goofball. Yeah. How dare you call her that name? Anyway, Amy Way for Amy, says Eric Hawkins. I have a comic book idea that I have only created the background for. It's supernatural-esque. Two werewolf priests hunt monster who are monster hunters. I call it the Hounds of Gods. Ooh, I like this. Could use a writer that knows more about supernatural than I do, which is a lot.
Ooh. Let's talk, Eric. Definitely. I like that idea.
Yeah. I was going to say, Amy and I may wind up arm wrestling over that. She'll break it off and beat me with it. But yeah, that's a super idea, dude. Actually, you two should talk about it because I may be able to get it going for you guys if you want. Anyway, we'll all three should talk. And Brian said he reads the briefs. Boxer's definitely sexier. One thing that's even sexier, and I'm not standing up. And Carl mocks Meredith with his laughter. And DRM, yep, that's right. And let's see. Here we go. Rick Bradley says, Amy, I have a couple of anthologies I'm wanting to publish, so I might be messaging you later on.
Absolutely,
Yeah, we're all about sharing opportunities here. Dave Woodrum says to Christy Robinson earlier, I can design role-playing game material, and Christy is an old role-playing game player, just like me. We used to be in the same games together, actually, and board games, etc., all day long, but I can't write stories. I struggle a lot with writing adventures because I feel that my plots and such aren't good enough. I still do it, but I struggle with my own self-confidence on that. That's why we had last week's episode on imposter syndrome, and we will be revisiting that in the future, just to let everyone know.
That was a great episode, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I think those guys did a great job on it, and we will be revisiting it with different people, and we will be bringing back the original team occasionally too. I think it's going to be a topic we're going to visit like every 4 to 6 weeks. I think there's enough in it. So
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2020 is a season of Supernatural. The Murder Hornets were a filler episode. Thanks, Rick Bradley. That is fun.
Episode of Bugs, Rick. Did you the Supernatural episode called Bugs? That was terrible. But yeah.
Oh my. Oh, let's write a book. Bill Sargent says, let's write a book about the 1918 plague and the 1968 Chicago riots. Oh, wait a minute. We're living it already. That's true. We haven't had the Democratic National Convention yet. We've got something to look forward to. I remember I was 12 years old and watching that stuff. That was great entertainment. That was my first introduction to Schadenfreude. Anyway, 2020 the movie, says Molly Danos. Written by Stephen King, directed by Quentin Tarantino, and produced by J.J. Abrams.
Molly, as long as it's not written by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, then we're screwed. We are totally screwed.
We're all dead if it's written by Joss.
And Eric Hawkins refers to a weak moment I had earlier. Never tongue a book again. Don't tell me what to do, Eric. Oh, and edited by George R.R. Martin. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Now we're all in trouble.
And let's see. Oh my God, Amy, you and I've got to do a whole show on this one. For authors looking to get published by a publishing house, what are red flags in a bad contract? Oh my God, could we fill 2 hours with that or what?
That's a lot of information. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're so far behind. We probably better not cover that time. Let's make Amy. I'll tell you what. Let's cover that some night. You and maybe a couple other people, and we will save that for another night. All right, how's that sound? We'll have you back for that.
Sounds good.
All right, yeah, because that is hardly. I'm not trying to blow you off. That is a super important subject and a great idea.
In that answer.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the last year I've been reading contract. I used to work for I tell people I worked for a cemetery for a year. I learned how to write contracts, so I can read them now pretty well. And I've had some people send me some publishing contracts that I'm like, they are out there.
Your first big red flag is if you have to pay them a dime, run far away.
Yes.
That's your first red flag. If they're going to make you pay them, it's not a publishing company, it's a vanity press. There's a big difference.
Exactly. And if you have to surrender all your rights in perpetuity, even during the submission process, there are some places that say you submit this story to us, even if we don't print it, we keep the rights. Anytime they keep all the rights, you say, oh, hell no. And like Amy said, you run like hell. But yes,
your answer is the finger.
Yeah, and use both hands if they don't get the message the first time.
Yeah.
Seriously, that is a super question, Harley, and it deserves a thorough answer. So yeah, let's do that sometime, Amy. What do you say?
Yeah, all right. Sounds good.
All right, Bill Sargent. First, everyone talking about Amy having to pee. Now, Brian licking his book. Remember the good old days when we talked about dino porn? Well, yeah.
I don't know what's worse.
Oh, and Amy's like, I'm never going on this show again. Never, ever, ever. Meredith Laughlin, what the hell? After sitting. The murder hornets were like nothing compared to Brian licking a book. Anyway, Brian, what the hell? I get that a lot. After sending me such a huge package, to see you drinking from such a tiny glass is shocking. Shocking, I tell you. Well, I didn't mention this is about my 15th, Meredith, so that's okay. Which probably explains why I'm able to do the show better tonight. And you have to let the grapes breathe. I do, just before they scream for mercy. It's okay. And Rick Bradley, all those episodes were great ones, Amy and Molly Daniels. OMG, my daughter was talking about that episode the other day where S&D are in an alternate reality and meet S&D. Now I want to watch at least that episode. There you go.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh man, and Cindy Kemp wants to know who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, well, that's tough. Pudding Man. Which is something I would have to explain. It would take too long.
We'll be saving that for a clever title pending After Dark, the Boom Chicka Wow Wow episode.
Yeah. So basically, that was a character my dad came up with, which again we'll talk about later because it's something I'm working with Darren with Brian. Actually, I can't even talk now. Let's see. So as far as superhero, wow, that's really kind of tough. I used to really be into Superman, especially as a kid. Christopher Reeve was like. I loved Christopher Reeve as Superman. That was kind of my big thing. And I also really loved The Incredible Hulk. Like just, I don't know what it was about The Incredible Hulk, but, and of course, these are my memories as kids watching these shows. So obviously, when Lou Ferrigno was at one of the events we were at here, what was it, Brian, a couple of years back?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
You should have seen me. It was ridiculous. I was like fangirling like a moron over Lou Ferrigno because this was my childhood hero standing here. And
it was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I got a picture with him. It was just, I was just like, I was an idiot.
Even now.
But, yeah, just like. It's just like my picture on my mug.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
It's
probably a cross between the Hulk and Superman. Those were kind of my childhood. I remember also really being into Batman and Robin, watching the old Burt Ward, Adam West. But I think my favorite was probably Superman, with the Hulk being a close second.
Good choice. And Sarah's not letting you forget, streaming is P while streaming online.
I get some adult diapers so that I can just sit here and drink all night and talk. And you'll never know what's happening while I'm sitting here.
That's right, by God. And, that's why I'm a true professional. I have kitty litter under me. So anyway, Bill Sargent says, my fave supernatural episode is when they go back in time to find Samuel Colt. The reason is that along with myself, Samuel Colt and Jared Padalecki all share a birthday on July 19th. Well, there you go. See?
And then there's always Dean wearing his hat and saying that he likes Posse.
Yeah. And who doesn't like Posse? I've been going all my life searching for Posse. Anyway, yeah, we're going to Hale once again. Monica Hale says we make $1.50 per print book sold over the internet. Yeah. And here's a good question: Is Harley Slavic asks, is Doubleday still one of the big five? Just wondering. I don't think so. I think it's been acquired.
I mean, as far as I know, Doubleday is pretty much just another outlet for sales.
Yeah, like an imprint.
Yeah. I don't know that they're actually. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't really. I haven't really heard about them in recent years, other than I know that they still have like their book club.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they're technically still part of the actually printing.
Yeah.
Printing 5 or not.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, at one time there were like a couple dozen, like back when I was a kid, like about a dozen or more major publishers that you could go to the bookstore. But over the years, due to acquisitions of buying up smaller publishers or just simply them going out of business, we are now boiled down to 5 major publishers who I can never remember all the names of. I know one is Hatchet, another one is Penguin.
There is oh dang, now I'm not gonna be able to remember him. Let's see. Wow. Random House. Is that right? Random House?
Yeah, Random House. I think Random House is now part of Penguin, I think.
Are they part of Penguin?
I think it's Penguin Random House now it's called, yeah.
It's so hard to keep track of the way they've merged.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's only 5 major ones now.
Is Bantam now part of?
I think Bantam's part of one of the others, yeah. I'm going to have to look that up now. Now I'm curious. I may not get to bed tonight. I'm going to be looking that damn thing up.
Following the diagrams trying to figure out who.
Yeah. So, if I see you're up tonight, I'll talk to you. Anyway, Sarah says, Hale's angels with horns that hold the halos up, made of tinfoil. That's right, folks. Do not forget, sign up for Amy Hale's Angels and also author Amy Hale here on the Book of Faces, as well as author Amy Hale on the interwebs. And we had the perfect answer to Eric Hawkins earlier. Thank you very much. We worked hard on it. And and I just shot past a few. We're going to shoot past yours because we're over 2 hours, Amy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep you here this long.
Oh, no, that's fine. Like I'm doing anything else.
That's true. All we're doing is drinking. What the hell? I don't know where Cookie put the bottle. We'll find it.
Before it's done, but we're good.
Harley Savick says, bring on the cheap plugs. We must have cheap plugs. We'll talk to Michaela Jade about that. Sarah says, this is an awesome interview. Holy, educational and hysterical at the same time. Epic. That's what Amy is. She is epic. That's why we love having her on here. And challenge accepted. Google erotic Amy Hale gets you this.
I am terrified to see what that link is.
Oh my god. If there's a dinosaur on there, I'm running. Erotic Amy Hale. I'm going to have to do that now. Anyway, Dave Rodham says on Books for Prisoners, having pulled an internship at our local psychiatric prison, some prison systems don't allow a lot of different materials. Virginia DOC won't allow D&D, for example, or erotica. Well, of course, you don't want those prisoners summoning up Satan or trying to escape through steam tunnels. It only makes sense.
Well, I can imagine erotica would be difficult for somebody who has sexual proclivities that are the last thing you need is them in their cell with erotica, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm not going there. Believe it or not, I'm not going there.
Even Brian won't discuss. Okay.
Well, I noticed you were taking a drink, and I wasn't. I was flashing on why the prison laundry doesn't have all the socks they used to. But anyway, are you in Central Illinois? We need to get together sometime, says Sarah. Actually, I know where you both live. You're not that far apart.
I am in Southern Illinois.
And Sarah's in the Charleston area.
Oh, okay.
Which is right down the road from Mattoon.
Okay, so not terribly far, yeah.
To the east, yeah. So you guys are like, just like that. Cindy Cap, I speak fluent Texan drawl and Yooper. Sarah, so I was there at SilCon one year when you were there. Oh, what I missed yet gained at the same time. That was the year when I was doing that podcast with Ariana Archeri, and
Were you step on the square to get the signal?
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that's where we met Sarah. She was part of our entourage.
SoCon, yeah.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Where y'all ought to be September 11th and 12th, because Amy will be there. I'll be there. Sarah will be there. Eric should be there if he has any wits about him at all, or if he has any smarts, he won't be because he'll be near us. But anyway, serious question from Eric Hawkins. For new readers of your works, what book would you suggest over all the others?
Oh, that's tough because it really depends on what the reader likes, because I have different genres, more or less. I mean, obviously, if they like suspense, mystery type stuff, hopefully they're good with romance, because that's threaded through all of my stories. Then Ulterior Motives is the one that I would recommend. If they like paranormal, so that's the one that's tough because I have so many of those. And again, it goes back to the age too. Are they old enough to read more adult material, or are they younger? Do they need something that's a little cleaner? Not that I specifically dirty stuff, but I do try to differentiate between what I think is appropriate for younger readers and what is probably more adult. I think Shadows of Jane is probably an overall safe paranormal read for any age. So probably that one. Although I do find myself every time I read, I love the story. I love that it probably fits most age ranges. But it's also like the third book that I wrote, and every time I reread it, I look at it and I think, oh, there's things I really want to fix. You know how that is when you go back to old stories?
Yeah.
But I also know that it's really kind of ridiculous to go back and fix things at this point. Just move forward and continue. So I struggle with recommending that just because I see things that bug me now. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, Shadows of Jane is probably the one that I would mostly recommend, unless they really want something that's a little more adult. And then I would say Flames Among the Frost is probably, and then if they like more contemporary, funny, if they really, really like humor, then I would say Letters from Jason would be the one that I would recommend. So it just depends on what they really like, what they're looking for. That really didn't answer that question at all, did it?
Well, I think you hit it all around. If you didn't hit it, you scared it at least. Yeah, Molly Daniels, are there still slots available for the con in October? If you're talking about Big River Comic Con, talk to Darren Logue. I've got a couple other shows you may want to look at too, Molly. So, but talk to Darren Logue. He is the guy in charge of that. Sarah says, I'd love to get into Thomas Harris's mind for creating Hannibal Lecter. The psychology of it is insanely awesome. It makes me wonder about Thomas Harris with how good his books are. I can see that. Dave Woodrum says, Amy, my day job is mental health. I'm not seeing it. Sorry, you're not out there enough to be pre-screened. This is only your first exposure to her.
Yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say, once you get to know her, by God, she doesn't need a pre-screen. It's just get her in the room with the carpeting all the way to the ceiling.
Just give me the pretty white jacket.
There we go. The one that laces up in the back. And Sarah laughs during horror and scary movies. People give me appalling looks when I laugh. I must need help with that. No, you're fine. Phil Thompson, hey, how you doing? And Meredith Logren goes, Imposter Syndrome is going up on the podcast this evening. Yay! Should be available on iHeartRadio by morning. Thank you very much. And, of course, this one should go up on iHeartRadio. And we will give everyone an opportunity to find out how they can stay in touch with Amy Hale. And I know everyone's going to hear about your bladder. Anyway, Phil Thompson, how you doing? We're doing fine, Phil. Hope you are too, my friend. Rick Bradley, the publishing question episode, maybe Jason Nugent would be good on that as well. Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll talk to him. And Cindy Kemp says could be a co-op press. Yeah, that's true. And Philip Thompson, what's dino porn? Is it real? You don't want to know. You really don't want to know, Philip. Seriously, just walk away from it.
Say that there is something for everyone on the internet.
Yeah, sad to say, and that's where you'll find it. Anyway, even during Uncle Carl's worst Duncan rant, he's never licked a book. Well, I guess I'm one up on you, buddy.
And you just
And with yours. This is something you people on iHeartRadio will not be able to savor the way we can live. So anyway, and Carl Bryan popped the lick the book cherries. Oh my God. We are going to Hale. And hello, Jason. Hello, Jason. If you're here, oh, you picked the wrong time to show up. Anyway, Harley, Brian could make a book of 100 dirtiest jokes, but he would have to write it at least 10 volumes to get even close to the jokes he knows. That's just the jokes I can tell. Anyway, Carl Wisman, oh, geez, will book licking be a thing now? You mean it wasn't? And here we go. Bill Bixby is one of my favorite actors, says Harley Slavic. I agree. He was always one of mine, too.
Yes, he was amazing.
I loved him in My Favorite Martian, and he did a great one very briefly called The Magician on NBC. Yeah, it only lasted like a year or two, but he was trained by a real magician named Mark Wilson. Oh, wow. And it was really good. Yeah. And Sarah goes, maybe if they taste as good as they smell, there's only one way to find out. And Cindy kept, thank you. Hatchette, HarperCollins, Macmillan, Penguin Random House, and Simon & Schuster.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you very much. You're very helpful, as always. Thank you so much. And just Google it, Hatchette, HarperCollins, and Simon & Schuster. There we go, Molly. See, this is the learning place. And one book I have is Death Wish Meets True Grit. Don't steal that, please. It's yours, sir. You can have it. And Eric Hawkins, it was just your Amazon author page. It actually is the first thing that comes up.
Thank God. I was here thinking, oh my gosh, is there something out there I don't know about?
Yeah. I told you, just quit.
A weird thing together.
Yeah, we can quit logging into YouPorn. I'm telling you, that's telling you that for a friend.
I'm telling you what, you never know. You just never know anymore what you're gonna find.
That's true. That's true. And I admit to all of it. Anyway, Carlene says, and Carl and I are in Danville, Illinois. So all the Danville kids live fairly close to each other. So, and I'm only an hour from Carl over here in Lafayette. So we can all get together. We could have FezCon. Rick Bradley, I'm in Southern Illinois as well, not far from Amy. Poor thing. I know where she lives too. I love her animals. I hear that's illegal. Anyway, Rick Bradley says. So no shadows of Jane director's cut, upgraded CGI, and deleted scenes. Maybe a gag reel. This whole show is a gag reel. Are you kidding? You probably watch it one day, you'll start gagging.
Nothing's usable here.
Not one damn thing. iHeartRadio is going to send this one back. Got it, so buy it and go buy all your books, definitely. And Phil Thompson did 15 pages of the comic, and we'll copyright it this summer. Very good, Phil. Good to hear. And Steph Spincy, good to see you. Glad I was able to join, even if late to the party. Well, there's plenty of nonsense for everyone here. And Dave Woodrum, Dino Porn. The sheets were Ollie's discount store satin, and her species was most definitely a raptor something. As her hooked talon reached for the wine glass, I couldn't help but to think of about my health insurance policy and if I would need to go back to the clinic in a few days. So, Dave, you write that very well, almost too well.
Brian, what you need to do on here one night.
Yes, dear.
When you have your multiple guests, you need to do a flash fiction panel.
Oh, we do. You're on. You're invited. You're so invited on that. You're the ringleader now.
Have the guests, give the suggestions, and just let people run with it. It would be hilarious.
Oh my God! Yeah, we will do that. We will do that. Yeah. We got to have you on. We got to have you on for that. And Steph Spitz, he's totally going to ask you guys to lick my books when you autograph them at PenCon in 2021. I will put extra saliva on yours, Steph. That's how much I care. Oh my God. And Timothy Chiesa, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Timothy, I think I got that one right, though. Hey, you two from Waynesville, Missouri. No, I have never lived in Missouri. She's from Illinois, and I'm originally from Illinois, now living in Indiana. So, and Molly Daniels is... Yeah, I escaped. Molly Daniels says I'm in Southern Indiana, right across the river from Lawrenceville, Illinois. So just down the here, Amy, just down the road from that barbecue place we went to a couple of years ago after Salem.
Oh, Smoky Bones.
Smoky Bones, remember? And if we'd gone east, that would have gone into Lawrenceville and eventually into Vincennes, Indiana, where the Red Skeleton Museum is.
Nice. Yeah, that's the place.
Yeah, and here we go.
We're just down the road from that one place we ate.
Notice our landmarks are food places. This is not an accident, It's the language we speak. To both of you, your favorite book to movie adaptation. Wow.
Ooh.
I know I can tell you mine right off the bat. My favorite, and it's going to sound stupid, is the book Cyborg by Martin Caidin. Martin Caidin was a great writer who could make. He was like Michael Crichton. He could take complex science and boil it down to simple stuff for non-science types. And he wrote a book in the early 70s called Cyborg. It was about an Air Force. It was based on partly on a true story, inspired by a true story. An Air Force test pilot crashes an experimental jet and has 3 of his limbs replaced with bionics, including his eye. That series became The $6 Million Man. That is my favorite.
Wow.
Yeah, the original book was very, very faithfully translated to the small screen in this case. Amy, do you have an answer?
It's really hard to choose, but I'd have to say, and I know that books, you lose so much in translation from the book to the movie because I just can't get it all in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
I love me some Douglas Adams. And
yes.
And I just love, even though it's not quite right, I love the movie. It just cracks me up every time I watch it. It's just one of my favorites.
I liked the TV show myself. The TV show was really good.
I need to see that too, so that I can get caught up with that.
Yes, you do, because the dish from the book that was played in the TV show was played by Peter Davison.
No way! Okay,
yeah, way. Serious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it back like in the 80s, and it's like, he sounds familiar. And then I'm like, Peter Davison, what the hell? But his wife at the time, Sandra Dickinson, played the lead in there, one of the leads in there.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
So yeah, it's great. It's seriously, I love it a lot more than I like the movie. Although the final scene of the movie made me cry. With the picture of Douglas Adams on there, I started crying like a baby. That was so sweet.
Yeah.
And we have another vote for Flash Fiction from Rick Bradley and from Meredith Lawgren. Yes, I love Flash Fiction. That would be so fun. And like life draws with words, this could get dangerous. I'm up for it. And thanks. You're welcome, Steph. I don't make that offer to lick everyone's book, but you're special. And this podcast episode is rated NC-17. And Cindy Camp, on the other hand, wants to know our favorite movie novelized. Ooh. I haven't read a novelization in ages. I think the last one I read was Superman Returns. It's been a long time. When I was young, the novelizations were rife. There were a lot of them.
I don't know if I know of any that I've watched that were novelized after. I mean, if they do, I don't know that they were. I think I've always assumed the book was first. So I can't answer that because I don't know if they were. I don't know which one was first. If it was a movie first, I don't think I knew it was. So.
Yeah. I mean, I did like some of the other $6 Million Man novelizations because they made it sound like how Cyborg was written, because Steve Austin in that one didn't have a right arm that was bionic. It was his left, and it didn't quite do everything that they said in the series. So they had to adjust the plots to make it fit that. And Dave Wordham says more like rated BC 77 million. Yeah, that's probably us. And so long, and thanks for all the fish. And Timothy goes Hitchhiker's Guide 42. You got that right. And I was more TV Hitchhikers than the movie, says Dave Woodrum. All right, good deal. And Rick Bradley, I have the radio show for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on tape. It is great. It is. I have heard it. It is cool. And yes, Flash Fiction, says Steph Smithy. I guess we got to do it. And Flash Fiction from Sarah, flashing everyone while doing fiction and licking books.
Bringing a whole new meaning to Flash Fiction.
I think so. I'm there. And let's see. Harley's My Movie to Graphic Novel is the 2003 Hulk film. Okay, that's cool. And Bill Sargent says, well, he votes for Flash fiction, but it has to be about Barry Allen. That's true. No Wally West or Jay Garrick for him. And with that, we are actually caught up with the comments, people.
Wow.
Wow, that's in one way it took a long time, and I apologize to everyone. I couldn't get to their comments sooner, but you had so many great questions. You really did.
Really did.
And and the fact that we got through it in 2.5 hours is amazing. It did not seem like 2.5 hours for me.
It did not. Not at all. No.
No.
Not at all.
But I think it's time we let everyone get to their little sleepy beds. And but anyway, I want to sincerely thank you so much, Amy, for being on Clever Title Pending. It has been a super, super pleasure.
Oh, I appreciate you inviting me. I've had a lot of fun.
I have too, as we always do. Oh, and here we go. This is kind of a long question here, real fast. Steph Spitzy, for both of you, any writing habits or routines? Listening to music at a certain writing place, have to have something with you when you write, have to have quiet. For me, I can write just about anywhere. I can plug in my laptop because the battery's going out. I have to have relative quiet though. I've kind of gotten into that mode, although I am working with meditation music now. Whereas I used to have like TV and stuff, but I spend too much time, part of my brain's listening to TV and all. And the one thing I have to have with me is coffee. The lubricant upon which the gears of creativity grind. But other than that, I don't really have a really set schedule for my writing, which is probably why I'm so indolent these days. But anyway, Amy, what about you?
Let's see. Well, music definitely helps, and it's kind of weird because I use it to set my mood, but once I get into the story, the music kind of disappears. It's like I hear it, but I don't. It's the words disappear. So the music's kind of going, but I'm so into what I'm writing that I don't hear it anymore. But I need it to kind of get me jump started. So depending on what I'm writing, I'll find that music that hits that mood, and I'll get it listening, and I'll get it to kind of get my juices flowing, and then suddenly I'm in the story and the music's gone, and it can just be going through a playlist. I couldn't even tell you what I was listening to because it will be completely in the background by the time I've really gotten into the story. Writing place, right now my favorite writing place is I've got a recliner next to our big picture window in the living room. I love to sit in the sunshine and write there. Or I will be right here at my desk, depending on whether or not it's crazy in the other room. If no one's home and it's quiet, I can write in there, or I'll be in here. As far as having something with me, usually at least have a drink, whether it's tea or maybe a Diet Coke, which I'm trying really hard to cut out. If it's in the evening, maybe it'll be a glass of wine. If it's in the morning, it'll be a cup of coffee. So it just depends on when I'm writing. And then sometimes I'll have a snack depending on what time of day it is and what I'm writing. What's bad about having a snack when you're writing is you have whatever it is and you look down and all of a sudden it's gone because you've consumed an entire bag or bowl or whatever it was, which is probably why I struggle with double chins, because I eat while I write and then it's all gone.
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so anyway, but so and routines, I need to do better about setting schedules. But as far as my routine basically is, I just have to have the music, my drink, and my comfortable spot, and I'm usually pretty good.
All right. Excellent. Well, let's see. We've got some compliments I'm going to give you here. Rick Bradley, everyone take care and stay creative. Love you all. Stay safe. You too, man. And have fun storming a castle, says Cindy Cap. Go to ckoepp.com for a great newsletter and great books. Bill Sargent goes, great show tonight, Brian and Amy, and Via con Dios amigos. Same to you. And do you think they'll make it, says Cindy Cap? It'll take a miracle. We'll see. We're going to try to sign off now. And bye from Cindy Cap. Thank you for being here, Cindy. And I'm going to close off the comments so I'm not tempted any longer. Anyway, thank you all, one and all. Thank you for your patience in us getting through your questions, and what great questions they were. I want to thank you all for that. Thank you for welcoming my good friend Amy Hale. And we're going to have her back on as soon as we can, I promise. And Amy, before we sign off for the night, I'd like you to tell everyone how they can stay in touch with you, how they can follow you, and how they can pick up every book you have ever written and then some.
All right. Well, you can find me on author.amyhale.com, which is pretty much find all of my stuff there. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/author.amyhale. That's my fan page. You can find my Facebook group where we kind of have a lot of fun, lots of shenanigans and whatnot at facebook.com/groups/Amy Hale's Angels. On Twitter, I'm at author Amy Hale. On Instagram, I'm at author Amy Hale. So I've kept it pretty simple. And then if you go to authoramyhale.com/newsletter, you'll find my newsletter where you can sign up and keep up to date with all the stuff that's going on. Sometimes I have special giveaways just for my newsletter subscribers. I do the same thing in my Hale's Angels. Sometimes we'll do stuff just for the Hale's Angels group. So those are my main places where you can keep up with me. And then, of course, I have my email and my mailing address on my website as well. If there's something you want to talk about there, you can get a hold of me there as well. So that's where you'll find me. I'm kind of all over the place.
As I am often, usually when I'm doing this show. Anyway, again, Amy Hale, thank you so much for being here. You are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I've had a great time.
Well, that's great. I have to. I think we all have. And now I'll close out the show here and mute Amy until we can talk after the show. Anyway, have a great evening, everyone. Don't forget, risingtide.pub is where you can sign up for my newsletter. The last issue went out yesterday, but you can get in on July's. And also don't forget Rising Tide Publications. We post new content to that every day, usually about 3 or 4 items. It's a place of inspiration and education. We ask a lot of questions. It's a lot of fun. And let's see, tomorrow morning we will be back on Nevermind the Furthermore at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central. And then on Friday, we also are doing the Nevermind the Furthermore now on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. And then Friday evening at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be with Meredith Walgren on the OnCon Facebook page, where we'll talk about critical elements of a comic book. We're also available on the Comic Book Advocates and Geek Insider Network pages on Facebook as well as YouTube. Don't forget, we are available now on YouTube as well as the Big River Comic Convention. Thank you, Darren Logue, for that. Amy Hale and I will be there October 2nd through the 4th, and we're looking forward to seeing you there, people in the land of Mark Twain. So anyway, this is Brian K. Morris. Thank you all for being here. And as always, I urge you to stay smart, stay safe, wash your damn hands, and never apologize for being awesome. We'll see you next week, next Tuesday on Clever Title Pending. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at GeekInsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends. Because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.